Binzhou City night. The midnight streets were devoid of human figures. However, the sign of the everything can be modified tuning shop was still lit. Inside the shop, shadows of people stirred, and an indifferent voice sounded. Shopkeeper Su, your lease is almost up. It can't be delayed anymore. If you can't pay the rent, we'll have to take back your shop according to the rules. And I don't understand how you can run this place without a single modification core. I'll rest assured he'll pay the rent within. Finally, he sent the rent collectors away. Su Chen returned to the cash register, looked at the empty street outside the door, and sighed. This was not Earth but the star god world, a world where racing was highly developed. But the vehicles racing on the track were not ordinary cars, they were fantasy creatures called museum motor maidens. In daily life, they appeared as human girls, yet they could transform into supercars on the track. He had been in this world for 3 months. He had thought he could support the tuning shop with the money he earned from hard labor, but now it seemed he had been too naive. Even if he was the top racing tuner on Earth, what did it matter? No one in this world knew him. When he first transmigrated and learned about the existence of museum, he was truly startled. But soon the shock turned into excitement. As a tuner, he was also a car lover. Who wouldn't want their racing car to transform into a beautiful young maiden, holding the steering wheel by day, gripping twin tails by night? How wonderful would that be? He had thought obtaining his own museum would be simple, but after learning the requirements, he was intimidated by the high threshold. A driving license was the most basic requirement. Next, the only ways to obtain a museum were through League Academy allocation club distribution or self-funded purchase. Purchasing a museum required a large amount of money. The rarer the museum, the more expensive. Moreover, even if you had money, high-grade museum required their recognition. These 3 requirements alone shut out 99% of people. So he determined to first solve the money problem. He had planned to make quick money with his superb tuning skills and even win the favor of many museum. But due to his lack of reputation, no museum had come to him for tuning in 2 months. Some drivers had visited the shop, but upon discovering he had no certificate, they turned and left. In this world, a tuner's certificate required strict academic examination. How could he afford to go to school now? No academic background, not even qualified to take the exam. Now he was like a doctor with excellent medical skills, but without a medical license, an unlicensed practitioner. Tune a museum. Activate talent. In Su Chen's mind, there was a star map with several dim stars, most hidden within nebulae, only one exposed. Whenever he concentrated on the first star, a line of starlight text would appear. He propped his cheek on one hand, tapping the table absent-mindedly, and sighed again. Can't it just activate directly? Why all this roundabout nonsense? This was obviously the golden finger that came with his transmigration. But there was no system interface, nor could it communicate. Another transmigrator would have activated the golden finger long ago. But he was still stuck at the first step. Where am I going to get the rent? Go back to working at the construction site. Su Chen frowned, pondering. Relying on manual labor to support the shop was not a long-term solution. The urgent task was to activate the talent and find a museum to tune no matter what. But this couldn't be forced. Each museum was a warrior with formidable combat power. Knocking one unconscious and binding her for forced tuning was completely unfeasible. It seems there's only that way. Su Chen squinted, took a whiteboard from the storeroom. As a top tuner, he should not degrade himself by doing this. But he was at his wit's end. He had to try anything. It was cold on North Street at midnight. Neon lights reflected on the asphalt, cutting the night street into dappled light and shadow. Xingming walked alone on this empty street, her thin coat pressed against her body by the cold wind. Under the streetlight, her shadow stretched long, merging with the distant high-rise shadows. Staggering past the tuning shop, cold light fell on her pale face. She stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the girl reflected in the glass, her eyes like frozen lake water reflecting no light. Xingming silently gazed at herself. The scenes from the morning involuntarily flashed through her mind. Xingming, I'm afraid I can't pass the graduation race. Master, there are still a few days until the graduation race. We still have time to prepare. Don't give up easily. I'm giving up easily. Isn't it because your performance is so poor, eh? The woman in driver uniform slammed her fist on the coffee table, her voice trembling, hysterical. The words she spat out far colder and sharper than knives. If only your performance were a bit better, I wouldn't have failed to even pass, let alone become a laughingstock among class. Master, I will train hard. The cautious words were still torn apart, followed by a more ferocious storm. What use is that? Can that help me pass the exam? Can it help me graduate? Can it improve performance in a short time? I can. Fine, then go improve. If you can't, don't come back to see me. Get out. The door slammed shut with a bang. Everything came to an abrupt halt. The only way for a museum to improve performance in a short time was tuning, replacing with a better modification core. The money required for this could be astronomical. And she and her master were still students of the Racing Association Academy. Most of their earnings went to daily maintenance, leaving no spare money for tuning. Xingming ran around various tuning shops all day with her meager savings. The tuners went from enthusiastically introducing various cores to showing indifference and disdain in just the few seconds when she took out her money. Her money was too little, she couldn't even afford the lowest grade core. Asking for credit was also futile. The shops didn't accept any credit, telling her to leave if she had no money. After a day's running around, she was tired and hungry. Tired, mentally hungry, because she had no nutrient fluid. Maybe after a few more steps, she could only find a place to lie down and hibernate, waiting for a patrolling tow truck museum to drag her away. Before her was a newly opened tuning shop. Oh, she remembered it used to be a supermarket. The shop was small, looked a bit shabby, and the shelves had no modification cores at all. Then what was this shop selling? Didn't the owner do tuning? Xingming pressed her face against the glass window, her soft cheeks squished into a flat, comical shape. Through the glass, she saw a handsome man who seemed to be the owner hanging a whiteboard at the door. When he turned and went back into the storeroom, only then did Xingming cautiously move to the door of the tuning shop. She had been rejected too many times by shop owners and was afraid of being scolded. She dared not appear in the owner's sight, lest she be yelled at again for having no money. She was almost ready to give up on tuning, until she saw the bold characters on the whiteboard at the door: free tuning. There was also a small speaker hanging on the door. The speaker crackled twice, then burst into a rhythmic, catchy sound. Going out of business, the unscrupulous boss ran off with his sister-in-law. Originally costing tens of thousands, now starting today, not 998, not 98, and not even 998. Clearance sale. Rock bottom clearance. All tuning free, completely free. Xingming's soft cat ears and a single strand of a hoe perked up, and she stood frozen in front of the modification shop for half a minute, until a tall figure appeared before her, casting a shadow. Yo, mecha girl miss, welcome to our shop. Looking for modifications? The person standing before her was none other than the shop owner from earlier. His face wore a warm smile, but his eyes gleamed as if he wanted to devour her. Fortunately, his handsome, tough features eased much of the tension. Xingming thought she could still handle it. Eyes meow. Xingming stepped back half a step, pinching her clothes and shrinking her head as she pointed at the whiteboard, asking cautiously, is it really free modification? Of course. Su Chen's smile became even more genuine. This was probably the first mecha girl to come to his shop alone. Some mecha girls had come before, but they were always accompanied by drivers, and they all left shaking their heads because he didn't have a license. Now that he had a rare opportunity, he'd have to sweet-talk her. Oh no, treat her well. It's not a good place to talk outside. Come in quickly. Su Chen practically pulled the cat-eared mecha girl inside. Under the bright lights of the shop, the girl's delicate features became even more radiant. Her pale blue eyes were like two gems, her fair and flawless skin seemed to glow under the illumination, and her silver long hair cascaded smoothly like flowing water. At first he thought the cat ears on the girl's head were just delicate hair accessories, until the cat ears and the tail behind her both twitched. A real beast-eared girl. How could anyone resist that? Su Chen gestured for the cat-eared mecha girl to sit in front of the cash register, then turned to rummage through the refrigerated cabinet for a long time. Finally, he found a can of nutrient fluid, inserted a straw, and placed it before the mecha girl. This was the best treatment he could offer any customer in his shop. Nutrient fluid is a daily energy supply product for mecha girls, similar to energy drinks available in various flavors. Among them, ginger flavor, durian flavor, devil pepper flavor, and garlic flavor are always sold at 30% off all year round. It's a mystery why they keep producing them even though no one buys them. Xingming blushed and said thank you. Embarrassed as she was, her drowsy head did need a boost of energy right now. She took a small sip and immediately shivered, her face scrunching up. MMPH. What kind of flavor? She looked down at the label and was dumbfounded. Ginger flavor. So there really are people who like this perverted taste. Even though it tasted awful, she didn't want to disappoint the shop owner's kindness. In the end, she used sheer willpower to swallow the bitter, spicy nutrient fluid down. Before I do the modifications, I need to know your basic information. Su Chen took out a form and pen and waved them at the cat-eared girl. Meow. Xingming nodded obediently. It was her first time getting a modification, so she wasn't familiar with the process. Name and model. Xingming model Nico 99. What about the grade? D level. Meow. Xingming glanced guiltily at Su Chen. D was the lowest grade for mecha girls, meaning the girl either had defects or poor performance. Usually her driver would never reveal her grade, fearing ridicule. But she didn't see any strange expression on the boss' face, which slightly relieved her. Okay. Su Chen finished writing, then raised his eyes to gaze at the clearly nervous and uneasy girl before him. Tell me what you want. Why are you here for modifications, and which aspects do you want to improve? That way I can have a basic direction. Because of my poor performance, my driver cannot pass the graduation assessment, so I want to improve my performance through modifications. The main direction. Xingming tilted her head, pondering the track characteristics of the Academy graduation assessment. That was a fairly standard track. Not very difficult, few curves and many straight sections. As long as the mecha girl's speed met the standard and the driver wasn't too stupid, passing the assessment shouldn't be a problem. I want to increase my speed, especially cornering speed. She finally reached that conclusion since the graduation assessment was a lap race and cornering speed was crucial. A straightforward idea, Su Chen sighed inwardly. In his past life, the rookie drivers who came to him basically asked for the same thing, to increase their race car speed. But it was the first time had been asked that by a race car itself. However, one thing puzzled him: the league academies in this world were a combination of universities and driving schools teaching cultural knowledge while revolving around racing. Of course, ordinary people couldn't afford to attend given the cost of mecha girls. Mecha girls like Xingmeng were assigned to students in their third year as starter mecha girls. These mecha girls had no obvious defects, but their performance couldn't be too high. They generally hovered around C or D grade. Logically, as long as the driver's skills were fine, passing the graduation assessment should be simple. How could they blame the mecha girl's performance? Besides, if her performance wasn't good, they could just get modifications. But that was between the mecha girl and her driver, so he didn't pry. Right now, he just wanted to activate his cheat ability as soon as possible, make big money, and reach the peak of life. Living the fast life, steering wheel by day, twin tails by night. I understand your request. Come with me. Su Chen stood up and led the way. Xingmeng followed closely behind him, peering around in surprise, discovering that the small shop had another dimension. There was actually a rather long corridor inside. They walked all the way to the end of the corridor. Su Chen took out a key and unlocked the lock. Under the dim light, the somewhat old door creaked open and pitch-black darkness surged out from inside, as if hiding some great terror that would devour people. Xingmeng shivered. Well, what place is this, meow? The modification room, but it's a bit old. Su Chen's voice was casual, but half his face was hidden in shadow, making him look somewhat eerie. His hand fumbled along the wall beside him, looking from another angle, as if he were reaching for a weapon. Xingmeng stood still at the door, not daring to move. So is it too late to run now? Is this boss going to do something weird to her? As expected, the most expensive thing is the free one, meow. Please come in, cough cough. Su Chen finally found the switch and waved away the dust. The dim yellow light flickered on with a click, banishing the darkness. The room looked enveloped in twilight, not much better than before. Just now it was eerie, now it was lifeless. Seeing Xingmeng frozen still and anxious to activate his ability, he reached out and pulled the statue-like girl into the room. Stop standing there like a log, get in here. The door slowly closed, and the last sliver of light was swallowed by darkness. With a click, the lock engaged. The sign hanging on the wall glowed red. Teaching training room in operation. Upon entering the room, a strong smell of engine oil rushed to meet him. There was nothing unusual, only a scattered pile of parts in the corner. Xingmeng recognized most of these parts. They were all disassembled from ordinary cars. Yet she couldn't fathom why her boss collected them. Though this world still had ordinary cars compared to mecha girls, they seemed like relics from the last century. A mecha girl modification shop shouldn't have such things. Shouldn't he just use modification cores directly? Xingmeng watched her boss rummage through the pile of parts, a sense of dread creeping in that she had boarded a sinking ship. Meanwhile, Su Chen was pondering as he searched how to improve racing speed by optimizing power output, reducing weight, and enhancing aerodynamics and grip. With limited resources, he had to adopt the simplest and most economical plan. Soon he found several ABS plastic sheets from the pile. All right, transform into your vehicle form. He carried the ABS sheets to the workbench and tilted his head slightly. Before starting the modification, I need to measure the front dimensions. Huh? What? No, meow, I can't take off my clothes, meow. Xingmeng crossed her arms over her chest, her snow-white cat, ears drooping, nearly hidden in her silver-white hair. Her tail coiled anxiously around her left thigh, the tip trembling. Her pale blue eyes darted away, unable to meet Su Chen's gaze. What? Su Chen looked baffled. I didn't tell you to take off your clothes. Oh, I said transform into your vehicle form. Oh, sorry, meow. I overthought. Xingmeng's face flushed crimson. She had been so immersed in paranoid thoughts that she blurted it out without hearing what her boss said. She obediently stood in the center of the room and transformed into her vehicle form. Before Su Chen's eyes, light and shadow shifted, and a sleek, pure white sports car appeared. Cool, he couldn't help but exclaim. Xingmeng's vehicle form bore a strong resemblance to the AMG-1 from his past life. He circled her, already forming a basic modification plan. How is it, meow? Can you modify it? A timid female voice sounded from inside the car. Su Chen glanced through the window and saw Xingmeng's humanoid form crouched in the driver's compartment, her hips raised high, her limbs glowing with electronic component light merging with the race car chassis, and an electronic fiber cable connecting her spine to the steering wheel. Normally, the driver sat in the cockpit controlling the mecha girl, greeted by a splendid view. He once again marveled at how well the racers in this world lived. It can be modified. He walked to the rear of the vehicle and instinctively placed his hand on the trunk lid. The girl's shy voice suddenly burst out. I don't touch randomly, meow. It tickles. Su Chen. He hadn't expected the mecha girl's vehicle form to be so sensitive. Sorry. He withdrew his hand and quickly changed the subject. I plan to install custom front lip and rear wing. Limited by materials, it'll have to use ABS plastic sheets. Additionally, it'll cover the exposed parts of your chassis with PVC panels. Do you understand? You should understand, right? After all, There was no response for a long time. Su Chen had to walk to the window, but he saw the girl looking dazed, a faint wisp of smoke rising from her head, muttering softly, I don't understand, meow. Too complicated, meow. Su Chen. Was this creature really a mecha girl? How could she know nothing about these professional details? Forget it. Su Chen shook his head, hurriedly took Xingming's measurements, then worked at the workbench cutting and bonding the materials. In less than an hour, the two front lip pieces and the rear wing were ready. Su Chen held them up, comparing them, and smirked. Still got it. It was said that a modifier was the core of a racing team. A top-notch modifier could solve 99% of a team's problems. As a top-tier modifier, calling himself the team's living Buddha wasn't an overstatement, right? The parts are ready, I'll install them for you. Without waiting for Xingming's reply, he circled to the front of the car, bent down, and snapped the front lip onto the bumper left and right. The girl in the car let out a strange moan. Su Chen paid no attention. He moved to the rear, and with a click attached the rear wing. Mio. Su Chen was speechless. Were all mecha girls so jumpy? The front lip reduced front lift, while the rear wing increased downforce. With these installed, the car's grip naturally improved, increasing cornering speed. Next, he used a jack to lift the car, and covered the entire chassis with PVC panels to reduce air turbulence. The whole process, needless to say, had Xingming yelping and squealing again. A simple installation procedure left Su Chen drenched in sweat. Talent unlocked. Divine Hand. The sudden spark in his mind made the lingering thoughts vanish instantly. Oh, unlocked. So what is this Divine Hand talent? Can it turn stone into gold? The thought had barely formed when he saw the front lip, rear wing, and PVC panels on Xingming covered in a faint glow. Eventually, they coalesced on the ground into a white cube emitting electronic light. Modification core. Su Chen exclaimed. The modifications he made for Xingming had transformed into a modification core right before his eyes. Though there was no prompt, he instantly understood the function of Divine Hand. Any modification he made for a mecha girl would eventually coalesce into a modification core. The cube before him was an aerodynamic components modification core. He picked up the modification core, and its mechanical patterns emitted a milky white glow with electronic text appearing on its surface. Unnamed aerodynamic components modification core. Positive effects: speed 3, cornering 3, negative effects: stability 1, endurance 3, special effects: cup size 1, hip circumference 10, grade white. This modification core was crafted by you. Please name the modification core. The prompt on the core wasn't from his cheat ability, but from the world's rules. Picking up a modification core automatically connected to the stellar while displaying its basic information in his vision. This information was only visible to the core's creator, triggered when the electronic patterns glowed and entered developer mode, proving the creator's identity. Additionally, due to the modifier's special status, they had primary control over their own cores, though this control was rarely exercised unless rights were infringed upon, such as in a robbery. Su Chen had seen modification cores before, but the one he made seemed slightly different from others. Other cores had both positive and negative effects, or only positive ones with no such thing as special effects, and these special effects were quite absurd. He glanced at Xingming, who had been silent since the modification. He began to understand why she had yelped and squealed during the process. I'd better give it a proper name. Su Chen stroked his chin in thought. After a while, his eyes lit up. Right. He'll call it Big Thunder. No. One modification core. The name was mighty, domineering, and fitting. He was wondering how to install the Big Thunder. No. One modification core onto Xingming. Just then the nebula in his mind surged, and a second dim star emerged from the cloud. Contract 1, Mecha Girl. Unlock Talent 2. Another formidable opponent. Su Chen narrowed his eyes. Was he truly the chosen one of two worlds? Why else would a life-threatening accident grant him the fortune of transmigration? And after crossing over, why would he be blessed with so many golden fingers? In truth, he didn't wish to. However, the condition to awaken his second talent was to contract a mecha girl. Frankly, for someone as destitute as him, this was quite challenging, something he could hardly consider without substantial funds. Now that he could craft modification cores with his divine hand, it would be best to accumulate wealth as a modifier. Xingming also noticed that modification core. She felt puzzled as the boss circled her vehicle form. Why hadn't he brought out the modification core earlier? It was impossible to install it once she had transformed into a car. Xingming, where is the slot for this modification core? Su Chen held the core and gestured around her front, rear exhaust pipe and fuel tank, but found it wouldn't fit anywhere. There was no fuel tank, and the exhaust pipe differed from a normal car's. Yet if not the exhaust or tank, he couldn't find another suitable spot. You don't know the modification core needs to be installed in Mecha Girl form? Meow. Off. Su Chen was taken aback. He really didn't know. Installed in Mecha Girl form. That was even stranger. Where would he put a core the size of an adult's fist? Xingming's side switched to Mecha Girl form and eyed the bewildered shop owner suspiciously. She wanted to question his professionalism, yet he had indeed provided a modification course seemingly for free. Hear me out. She turned, lifted her tight racing suit, revealing her fair, slender waist. The dim light pooled in the hollow of her back like amber wine, dazzling Su Chen and halting his thoughts. Until the girl reached behind her back, crossing her index fingers and thumbs into a rectangle at the center of her waist hollow. See it? Press the modification core here, and I can absorb it myself, meow. Su Chen instinctively followed her guidance, pressing the core against her skin. The moment it touched her skin, the core dissolved into a stream of light and merged into her. Xingming lowered her clothes, hiding the dazzling fair skin beneath the tight fabric. This modification core feels strange. Xingming adjusted her chest, noticing it had grown a size, then glanced at her rear. The peach-like curve stunned even her. Originally, she had a rather flat figure, but now she possessed graceful curves. This was no illusion. It hadn't been this large before installing the core. Yet as a mecha girl, she wasn't overly interested in such changes, only finding them odd. Her focus remained on the transformation the core had brought. My limbs feel stronger, meow. Xingming stretched, blinking her big blue eyes at Su Chen. Boss, what are the attributes of this modification core? I can't remove it myself or see its info. The attributes are positive effects, speed 3, cornering 3, and negative effects, stability 1, endurance 3. That's it. Su Chen rubbed his nose, concealing the special effect. Some things were best kept to himself, not broadcasted. Cornering and speed plus 3. Amazing. Xingming's eyes widened, her antennae and ears perking up, her tail curling into a cheerful arc. But soon she glanced nervously at Su Chen, hesitating. Is this modification core really free? Yes, Su Chen nodded. The modification was done. He couldn't raise the price now. Besides, this mecha girl had no money. No other condition. Xingming remained uncertain. Su Chen scrutinized Xingming from head to toe, then said seriously, how about becoming my mecha girl? Stick with me and you'll live lavishly. They'll upgrade your hardware by day and your software by night, transforming you beyond recognition. The sudden proposal startled Xingming. She stepped back, her pretty face, flushing eyes flickering as she mumbled, Boss, you're a good person. But I already have a driver. I can't betray my driver. But your driver doesn't treat you well, does she? Su Chen leaned against the wall, sitting on a pile of parts, shrugging. Every mecha girl who comes to my shop has a driver accompanying them. Who else comes alone like you? And if a mecha girl's performance is lacking, both driver and mecha girl should find a solution together. Failing an assessment isn't solely your fault, so why should you bear all the blame? Xingming's eyes dimmed, her frail figure swaying as she forced a bitter smile. But in the end, she shook her head firmly. I'm sorry, boss. Loyalty is a rule etched into a mecha girl's bones. If I gave in to temptation today and broke my temporary contract with my driver to become yours, I might leave you the same way someday. If one day my driver completely abandons me, and if you still think I'm worthy, then I would very much like to become your mecha girl. With that, Xingming bowed deeply to Su Chen. She backed to the door, drooping her cat ears, and bowed again. Thank you for reaching out to me. I will repay you someday. Before Su Chen could speak, Xingming fled out the door, leaving the little money she had on the floor by the entrance. Hey, you haven't signed the purchase agreement yet, Su Chen called out. But Xingming's footsteps were already far down the corridor. All right. Su Chen slapped his thigh and sighed. I knew acquiring a mecha girl wouldn't be easy. The night street, freshly rained on, still held many puddles. But that meant nothing to the girl eager to return home. She sprinted, heedlessly letting water splash freely. She dared not transform into vehicle form, as that would consume more energy. Then her master would scold her for being wasteful, calling her a useless, money-losing burden. Xingming rushed all the way to the academy and knocked on the dormitory door. After a long pause, a drunken female voice answered from inside. Who the hell is it disturbing my sleep at this hour? Master, it's me. I'm back from modification, meow. After about half a minute, the door opened, revealing an impatient face. Back from modification. You went for modifications. Where did you get the money? Master, why are you drinking again? Xingming closed the door, helped the drunken woman to the sofa, and explained softly. I met a really good modification shop owner who gave me a free upgrade. It's a modification core that adds so many attributes. The coffee table was strewn with empty bottles, and the sofa was littered with carelessly discarded underwear, crumpled tissues, and several used pink little umbrellas, a shocking sight. Xingming saw them and understood, but said nothing. As a mecha girl, she had no right to interfere in her driver's life. Don't bullshit me. Who would modify a waste like you for free? Dream on. The woman, heavily drunk, shoved Xingming aside and spewed a torrent of curses. Perhaps because of her intoxication, things better left unsaid poured out. What rotten luck. Why did the academy assign a trash mecha girl like you to me? Why does it have to be me? Haha, just wait. I've saved enough money. Once I pass the graduation assessment, it'll switch to a crade mecha girl in no time, and then you can get the hell out of here. Xingming stared blankly at the woman, who was now drifting into a drunken sleep on the sofa. She watched for a long time, silent for an eternity, then tidied up the chaotic room as usual. The academy's single dormitory was very small, especially for underperforming students like this woman. The room was so cramped it held only a sofa and a coffee table. In the corner lay a small cushion covered with cute cat faces. That cushion was where she usually rested. After cleaning the room and mopping the floor, she went to the small cushion, sat against the cold wall, buried her head deep in her knees, and curled into a ball, as if trying to hide herself to vanish from this world completely. No. As expected, no matter which world I'm in, a pork trotter rice bowl is always the salvation for a working stiff like me. Su Chen stepped out of the eatery with lingering satisfaction, feeling the fatigue that had weighed on his body vanish, replaced by a burst of vitality. It was time to hit the grind. There were several newly constructed tracks beyond the third ring road, where one could earn at least 1,000 transfer yuan a day operating robots at the construction site. However, this job wasn't for everyone. It required a bit of computer knowledge and driving skills. He couldn't have done it before, not until he took the robot for a spin around the site and even pulled off a somersault. The boss was utterly astonished, even suggesting he could compete in a car race. As for why Su Chen knew how to drive, after all, he was a top-tier modifier. Though his skills couldn't compare with those of a true professional racer, driving was an essential skill for understanding a car. Only by truly knowing a car could one modify it well, otherwise everything was just empty talk. Su Chen called the construction site boss, who after 3 months was still incredibly enthusiastic to hear he was coming. After confirming the site's location, he boarded the Skyrail. He didn't notice, however, that a cat-eared mecha girl clutching her last 2 silver coins had also boarded the Skyrail, just 1 carriage away. Getting off the Skyrail, Su Chen's first stop was a nearby supermarket to buy a drink. There was no rush since it wasn't time to start work yet. Since he couldn't bring water while operating the robot, he needed to hydrate sufficiently beforehand. As he was carefully selecting a drink, caught in a dilemma over his choice, he failed to notice a stray strand of hair slowly drifting past the glass window behind the shelves. When Su Chen arrived at the boss office with his drink, just as he was about to knock, he heard the boss' helpless voice from in. "Sorry, but we don't hire mecha girl workers here." Another voice immediately chimed in, soft and somewhat familiar, laced with pleading and supplication. But your job posting says only adults are needed with no other restrictions, right? I'm really strong, meow. I can carry more than a robot. If it's a problem, you could give me half the salary. Besides, not. The boss sighed. "Little girl, there are clear regulations against using mecha girls as laborers. If I get caught, I'll lose my livelihood. It's not that I don't want to give you a job, it's that I can't." "Why?" "I just want a job, meow." Her voice dropped instantly. Su Chen finally realized why that voice sounded familiar. It was Xingming's voice. That soft meow verbal tick was practically her ID. But why would Xingming come to a construction site looking for work? Where was her pilot? Su Chen knocked and pushed open the half-closed door, pretending not to know. The bald, pot-bellied boss face changed drastically when he saw Su Chen enter. He quickly waved his hand and said, "Su Chen, you see, I haven't hired a mecha girl as an employee. I refused. Don't go reporting me to the Mecha Girl Protection Association." "Boss, do you think I'm that kind of person?" Su Chen walked over to Xingming with a smile. The girl instinctively looked up, her previously gloomy face instantly brightening like a cat seeing a rainbow, her ears and tail perking up involuntarily. "Boss," she exclaimed softly, her eyelashes fluttering, her little mind clearly still processing why the modification shop owner was here. "You two know each other." The bald boss gaze shifted between Su Chen and Xingming, then he gave Su Chen a meaningful grin. "Not bad, kid. Is this a surprise for your uncle? 3 months ago I said you had the makings of a mecha girl pilot, and now you've actually got one. Tisk, you young folks are full of tricks. Sending a mecha girl to test me." The boss shook his head and shot Su Chen a look that said, "You've still got a lot to learn, but sorry the test failed. The reason I've made it to this position is through caution. I never take cheap gains I shouldn't, and I never make mistakes I shouldn't." You're mistaken, I'm not." Before she could finish, Su Chen shot her a sidelong glare. Xingming, startled by the look, jumped half a step back, drooping her cat ears and shrinking her head, swallowing her words. Su Chen knew the boss well enough to anticipate he was about to launch into a tale of his glorious rise from laborer to foreman, a half-hour marathon. He had already heard it once and couldn't bear a second round. He grabbed Xingming's hand, cutting off the boss' pre-speech routine. "Boss, it's almost time to start. It'll take my mecha girl to get ready. I brought her along today because she'd be bored at home alone." "I see." The bald boss gave Su Chen a thumbs up, then said to Xingming, "You've got a great pilot. He's willing to work hard for money and even considers how you feel at home alone. If you meet a pilot like that, you should marry him, ha ha ha." Xingming blushed to the tips of her ears. Just as she tried to protest, Su Chen pulled her outside. Behind the construction site warehouse was a grove with a clearing rarely visited. Su Chen left Xingming in the clearing while he sat on a tree stump, his scrutinizing gaze sweeping over her as he uttered 3 words, "Spill it." Xingming bit her lips, staring at her toes, the fine beads of sweat on the tip of her nose glistening faintly in the sunlight. "SB, spill what? Why are you here, and where did your pilot go? Didn't you pass the graduation assessment?" "We did pass." Xingming's voice carried a trace of bitterness. The The shadows under her eyelashes spread like storm clouds, and the tears, yet to form, fluttered like butterflies trapped in a glass case, struggling, but unable to escape. She took a soft breath, trying to swallow those emotions, forcing a faintly carefree smile. I just wasn't a good match with my previous pilot, so after the race we talked it over and parted ways. Meow. Is that so? Su Chen sighed. Are you sure she didn't leave you? I'm sure. The girl's voice lacked any conviction. A silence like an invisible wall stood between them. Su Chen shattered it with a single question. Then what's the point of earning money? You don't have a pilot anymore. I want to get stronger. The breeze rustled through the grove, lifting Xingming's snow-white hair, which billowed like a wisp of shattered cloud drifting beside her pale cheeks. Within that cloud of hair, eyes reflecting withered leaves flickered faintly, a broken light shimmering in their depths like a shattered starry sky. She murmured under her breath, I don't want to be abandoned again. If I'm strong enough, if my performance is good enough, I should be able to find a pilot who'll never leave me, right? Xingming herself wasn't sure, so the faint light in her eyes gradually blurred. Su Chen stared at the girl silently for a moment, then suddenly said, Remember what you said to me. Before she could answer, he mimicked Xingming's voice in a coquettish tone. Oh boss, if someday my pilot abandons me, and if you still think him decent, I'd love to become your mecha girl. Xingming froze, a pair of flames leaping up in her bright eyes like torches thrown into the darkness. But the flames flickered unsteadily, as if a single pinch could extinguish them. But I'm just a drank, no. Minus rank. A mecha girl like me. Su Chen stood up and walked over to Xingming. Perhaps there were better choices, but as a modifier he had seen too many scrapped cars reborn under his hands. While everyone else judged mecha girls by their performance, he swam against the current. He knew he never needed to choose, because his strength came from within. Xingming felt a palm rest on her head, its touch so gentle it seemed to melt everything. She instinctively squinted, resisting the urge to nuzzle against it, but her tail swayed involuntarily. I think you're pretty great. The man said, Be my mecha girl. Xingming would remember this day forever. The wind in the grove was as soft as cotton, and the sunlight wasn't so harsh. The sunlight filtering through the leaves traced a soft golden outline around Su Chen's silhouette. His smile was unclear against the light, but his voice was clear and firm. At that moment it too seemed imbued with the warmth of the sunlight. He'll only hold you back. Xingming recalled how enthusiastic and sincere Wang Tingting had been when she first formed a temporary contract with her. Back then she genuinely believed she had found a truly wonderful pilot. Even when she lost races, Wang Tingting would patiently encourage her. But as more and more defeats accumulated, the warmth gradually turned into cold, sharp blades. Don't say that. Mecha girls can be upgraded, can't they? Su Chen rubbed his chin and said, As I recall, upgrading from grade to crate only requires meeting the attribute thresholds and a corresponding star element. Is that really so difficult? To smoothly integrate his work into this world, he had also briefly brushed up on some knowledge about mecha girls, though it was only superficial. It really is hard, meow. Xingming lowered her head and pouted. To meet the attribute requirements, you need modifications, and the better the mecha girl, the lower the modification cost. Someone like me would have to spend a fortune. And as for star elements, those are special resources you can only get by ranking high in competitions. A grade like me would definitely finish last in any decently sized tournament. The more Xingming spoke, the sadder she became, her voice dropping lower as she felt utterly worthless. It wasn't that she didn't want to become Su Chen's mecha girl. She was just afraid that her clumsiness would disappoint the modification shop owner. She couldn't bear to see that look of disappointment and rejection again. Having something and losing it was worse than never having it at all. Oh, so she's worried about the cost. Su Chen's eyes darted around, then he leaned in closer and said with a sly smile, I'm a modifier, so I can tell you for sure that modifications don't actually cost that much. Market prices are at least 10 times higher than the cost. As a modifier, I get materials at rock-bottom prices, so don't worry. Really? Xingming looked at Su Chen with hopeful eyes, her fingers repeatedly twisting the hem of her clothes. She didn't know much about modification costs, only that the boss had given her one for free. Maybe what the boss said was true. Modifying a mecha girl yourself wasn't that expensive. Then maybe she could give it a try. As the saying goes, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, but there's no harm in having plenty of mud, meow. Of course it's true. Su Chen puffed out his chest and said with righteous conviction, Comrade Xingming, a pilot's self-worth comes from constantly sprinting to victory on the track. Do you know what a modifier's self-worth is? Xingming stared blankly at Su Chen, tilting her little head. I don't know. It's to keep making mecha girls stronger through modifications. Su Chen patted Xingming on the shoulder and continued his persuasion. So what do you think is more fulfilling, modifying a grade mecha girl to SS grade, or taking a grade mecha girl all the way to SS grade? Xingming tilted her head and thought for a moment. She seemed to be seriously weighing the comparison. After a while, she timidly glanced at Su Chen and said uncertainly, Maybe modifying a grade to SSS would be a bit more fulfilling, right? Exactly. Su Chen seized the opportunity to take the girl's cold little hand, forcing their eyes to meet. So, Comrade Xingming, would you be willing to contribute to my ideals and self-fulfillment? Meow. Xingming's pretty face flushed slightly as she instinctively turned her head to avoid his gaze. The man before her was too passionate. His fervent stare was like a blazing fire rushing toward her, making it hard for her to meet his eyes. I don't really have any objections. As long as you don't mind. Xingming murmured softly. She had thought she was dispensable to Su Chen. But now Su Chen seemed to truly need her, and it was this sense of being wanted that helped her regain a little bit of confidence. Of course I won't mind. Su Chen was overjoyed. He had finally tamed this little cat girl. He grinned like a wolf, needing Xingming's soft little hand. But how exactly do I form a contract with you mecha girls? Xingming. 10 minutes later, Xingming gave Su Chen a brief explanation. There were 3 main ways to contract a mecha girl. First, a temporary written contract like the one she had with Wang Tingting. Second, a bond contract, which was a step above the temporary written one. Third, the highest level, a soul contract. The differences between these 3 were significant. The first type could be dissolved at any time with neither the mecha girl nor the pilot needing a reason or bearing any responsibility. The relationship relied entirely on mutual goodwill and conscience. The second type was slightly more complicated. Dissolving it required sufficient reasons and motives, such as the mecha girl being scrapped or the pilot being unable to continue competing. Moreover, this type was often tied to club agreements and personal protocols. The third type could only be signed voluntarily by the mecha girl and could never be undone. It was equivalent to the mecha girl willingly binding herself to the pilot forever, a contract form she would only agree to when she had absolute trust in her pilot. Su Chen didn't aim high. He would be quite satisfied with a first type contract with Xingming. They could upgrade later when their relationship improved. Haste makes waste. At the modification shop's cashier counter, the two sat facing each other, the atmosphere serious yet tinged with a bit of absurdity. While Xingming, after careful thought, I think signing a first type contract is fine. That way you'll have more freedom. Su Chen looked at the cat girl across from him and said earnestly, if you find anything wrong with me, you can leave any time. Though I don't think that'll happen. Why are you crying? Before he could finish, Xingming's face darkened and tears began to well up in her eyes again. Signing the first type of contract means it's convenient to discard me anytime, just like my previous pilot did. Su Chen quickly waved his hands at this. I didn't mean that at all. Let's sign the second type then. In truth, what he wanted most was the third type. A cat girl who could transform into a race car. Just thinking about it was exhilarating. But that was just wishful thinking, as Xingming would never agree. After all, they had only known each other for a few days. Since Su Chen didn't have a club, the most complicated step, the club agreement, could be skipped entirely. All he needed to do was take Xingming to the local Mecha Protection Association to witness and sign the contract. There was only one such association in Binzhou City, conveniently located near the Star Crown League Academy. Su Chen greeted the construction site boss and left with Xingming. The boss didn't say much. In his view, Su Chen had just brought his mecha girl to show off to him. Young people, understandable. If he had owned a mecha girl in his youth, he would have announced it to the world, not even sparing a stray dog on the street. The Mecha Protection Association, short for Mecha Girl Protection Association. This organization oversaw second and third type contracts disputes between mecha girls and pilots and protected the basic rights of mecha girls. However, basic rights could only be discussed if the mecha girl and pilot had signed a contract of the second type or above. For first type contracts, the association had no jurisdiction. The signing process was simple. Su Chen signed an electronic agreement provided by the staff, and Xingming saved a copy in her memory. Then Su Chen only needed to register his fingerprint on a spot just above Xingming's tail. This served as an activation key. Once the fingerprint was recorded, the bond contract was considered established. From then on, no one but Su Chen could pilot Xingming. The entire contract process took less than 10 minutes and went very smoothly. From now on, you're my mecha girl, Xingming. I look forward to working with you. At the entrance of the Mecha Protection Association, Su Chen solemnly extended his hand to Xingming. It was also Xingming's first time signing a second type contract with someone, and she was both nervous and felt as if she were in a dream. She shuffled her feet on the ground, then reached out her small hand to grasp one of Su Chen's fingers. Her furry cat ears perked up happily, but her voice was as soft as ever. I'm sorry. Oh no, thank you. Please take care of me, master. The moment that soft English word master left her lips, a second star was lit in his mind. Unlocked talent, divine eye. The eye of God. His previous talent, the hand of God, granted him the ability to craft and modify cores. So could this eye of God bestow upon him the power of X-ray vision. He instinctively looked toward Xingming. Well, no X-ray vision occurred, but a virtual screen materialized in Mecha Girl info name Xingming Star Crest Radiant Light Team Support Type Speed 47 Cornering 54 Stability 42 Burst 35 Endurance 51 Modified Core None Stigma None Current Level D Special Talents 1 Not Activated 2 catgirl appearance specialization. 3. Silent movement synchronicity. 5. Status listless evaluation soft and fragrance suitable for warming the bed. On the track. Forget it. It's already a catgirl specialized type. Oh, why ask for more? One cannot have it all. So this was the eye of God. It could reveal a mecha girl's specific details. There were still many mecha girls at the entrance of the Mecha Girl Protection Association. Su Chen casually looked at another one. Mecha Girl info name Golden Falcon Star Crest, Blazing Flame, Speed Type Speed, 57 Cornering, 43 Stability, 52 Burst, 45 Endurance, 47 Modified Core, Thunderbolt No. 1 White Stigma, none Current Level D Special Talents, none Synchronicity, 0 Status, Energetic Evaluation, very average. Su Chen blinked. He seemed to have spotted something noteworthy. The Thunderbolt No. 1 Module. How did the modified core he crafted for Xingming end up on this mecha girl named Golden Falcon? He was about to turn back and ask Xingming only to find her hiding behind him, head lowered. She tugged at his clothes as if trying to squeeze her small frame into the shadow behind him. Xingming, what's wrong? Su Chen's gaze briefly lingered on the man and woman beside Golden Falcon, then he looked back at his own mecha girl with concern. Are you feeling unwell? Master, let's go. Xingming bit her lip hard. She tried to appear carefree and strong, but her voice trembled like an autumn leaf in the wind. That woman is your former pilot Wang Tingting, isn't she? Su Chen had already guessed from Xingming's reaction. His gaze turned icy. She abandoned you, and even pulled out your modified core. Xingming lowered her head in silence, her cat ears and tail drooping listlessly. This silence was undoubtedly an admission. How outrageous. A cold glint flashed in Su Chen's eyes. He turned to see the pair and the mecha girl entering the Mecha Girl Protection Association. But he didn't care. He grabbed Xingming's hand and chased after them. Xingming, pulled along by Su Chen, felt her mind turn into a mess. Master, what are you doing? Su Chen didn't look back. I'm going to screw her. Inside the Mecha Girl Protection Association. Shouting, isn't that mecha girl the one you used to have? I think her name is Xingming. The yellow-haired man beside Wang Tingting suddenly asked. His name was Lin Haijun, one of the sugar daddies Wang Tingting had accumulated over the years. The umbrellas he had spent on Wang Tingting could wrap around Star Alliance College a full circle. Because he had thrown enough money, he had been promoted to Wang Tingting's personal ATM. A third of the money Wang Tingting used to buy Golden Falcon came from him. Maybe I didn't notice. Wang Tingting flashed a fake smile. She had noticed, but didn't want to mention it. She considered being Xingming's former pilot a black mark in her history, so she proactively changed the subject. Brother Lin, where's the primary star essence you promised me? I did everything you wanted last night, you can't back out now. Lin Haijun, seeing Wang Tingting's coquettish demeanor, felt an itch he couldn't scratch. He knew Wang Tingting wasn't a good person, but he liked her wantonness. He wasn't marrying her anyway, or as a girlfriend. She was perfectly adequate, proficient in various action games with no inhibitions. Don't worry. There's an underground race in Binzhou City recently, right? The top 3 prizes include a choice of a primary star essence. Lin Haijun casually wrapped his arm around Wang Tingting's waist, leering, I remember Golden Falcon Star Crest is Blazing Flame, right? Then let's get her a primary Blazing Flame star essence guaranteed to help her advance to crank. Humph, Brother Lin, you're so good. Wang Tingting beamed, taking the chance to kiss the yellow-haired man on the neck. Lin Haijun felt a surge of heat rush to his head from the kiss, thinking that once Wang Tingting signed the contract with Golden Falcon, he would definitely drag her to book a room nearby for a vigorous family meeting. Just as the two were lost in their own scheming and fantasies, a cold-faced, tall man suddenly blocked their path. Lin Haijun himself was 178 meters tall, but this man was a head taller. The overwhelming sense of oppression made Lin Haijun's heart tremble. This man was Su Chen, who had just burst in, with Xingming following behind him. She clung tightly to Su Chen's arm, revealing half her little head, looking as bewildered as a frightened rabbit. Hand over the modified core. Su Chen said coldly, getting straight to the point. Modified core? What modified core? Wang Tingting was stunned for a moment, then stared at Su Chen and Xingming, quickly catching on. Oh, Xingming found a new sucker and couldn't wait to have him make a scene for you, you waste. You. Slap. Wang Tingting's words were cut off by a heavy slap. Lin Haijun beside her was startled, stepping back and shouting, What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop, or I'll call the police if you hit my girlfriend again. Shut up, or I'll hit you too. Su Chen raised his arm again. Don't. Lin Haijun stepped back again. You can hit my girlfriend, but you can't hit me. Su Chen. Lin Haijun's reaction left him dumbfounded. Was this guy who looked decent actually a sweet pushover? The sound of the slap was loud, and soon a crowd gathered around. Wang Tingting covered half her face, shook her buzzing head, and finally focused her eyes on Su Chen's face, shrieking, You hit me. You dared to hit me. They'll call the police. I'm calling the guard right now. Calling the guard, huh? Su Chen didn't waste words. He walked straight to Golden Falcon, and amid the mecha girl's stunned gaze made a sweeping gesture in the air. He directly exercised the modifier's primary control right to extract the Thunderbolt No. 1 modified core. Go ahead and call. This modified core was lent to Xingming by me. Not only did you abandon Xingmeng, but you also took the core I lent her as your own. Su Chen raised his right hand high, sneering. Robbery of a modifier, huh? Let's see if the guard arrests you or me. The modified core was spinning spontaneously at his fingertips. The star essence circuits were fully lit, entering developer mode. This proved he was the creator of this modified core. You're the modifier of this core. Wang Tingting's expression changed. Seeing the modified core in developer mode, her tone softened. Didn't Xingming buy this modified core? How did it become alone? Still not giving up. Su Chen snapped his fingers. An electronic voice sounded from the modified core. Purchase agreement status and signed. The extraction of the modified core from Golden Falcon was done using the developer's primary control right. If the sold core had a signed purchase agreement, this act would be a serious crime and the modifier would be sentenced. But Xingming had been in such a hurry that day that she never signed the purchase agreement. In other words, the modified core was still his, and he could reclaim it any time. Wang Tingting was completely dumbfounded. She thought she had gotten a bargain, never expecting it to be a time bomb. This kind of modified core, which greatly boosted one attribute, while slightly reducing others, was top tier regardless of its grade. At the time, she had thought Xingming was lucky to have found such a good modified core on her outing. But she really needed this core for the city championship. With it, Golden Falcon's stats were just shy of reaching the threshold for crank advancement. Reaching crank was the only way to stand out in the city championship. Finding another core so perfectly suited for Golden Falcon would be difficult. With this thought, Wang Tingting's attitude softened further, even carrying a hint of pleading. Esteemed modifier, there might be a small misunderstanding between us. I didn't know this core was alone. How about this? Name your price, and I'll buy it right now. She had initially thought Su Chen was Xingming's new pilot, but knowing he was a modifier dispelled that idea. She assumed Xingming couldn't repay the core and had no choice but to bring the modifier along. It was extremely rare for modifiers to also be pilots, and it was unlikely one would fancy AD rank like Xingming. After all, modifiers knew best how troublesome such mecha girls could be. Is this modified core important to you? Su Chen weighed the core in his hand. Wang Tingting stared, eagerly nodding. Very important. Fine. The smile on Su Chen's face abruptly vanished, and his hand suddenly clenched. Crack. He opened his palm. The fragments of the modified core clattered to the ground, dissolving into specks of light and vanishing completely. Silence fell around them. Everyone stared in shock at the scene, until a cold voice broke the stillness. ID, rather smash it than sell it to you, you idiot. After the silence, an uproar ensued. This was a modification core, one of the most crucial resources, although it was merely a white-grade modification core for Wang Tingting and Xingming, who had just graduated from the League Academy. A white-grade core was already excellent equipment, especially since this core had near-perfect attributes. If sold, it would fetch at least 20 to 30,000 transfer credits. Those who could attend the League Academy came from families with some wealth. But for a graduate to shell out tens of thousands of transfer credits for a modification core was still too extravagant. After all, the daily maintenance and care costs for a mecha girl were not insignificant. Saving a little money meant tightening their belts and living frugally alongside their mecha girl. Most pilots couldn't bear to see their mecha girl looking miserable every day. Yet now such a modification core had been crushed right before their eyes. Xingming felt her heartbeat slow with the core's destruction, believing Su Chen had suffered a great loss. She was unaware that lacking a license, Su Chen's modification core was unsellable. What are you doing? Wang Tingting broke down, pointing at Su Chen. Was that necessary? You refused to sell it, even for money. Did you have to do this for her? Is she worth it? You're not even her pilot. Su Chen met Wang Tingting's gaze. I am Xingming's pilot. His voice was low but resolute, tinged with pride. And Xingming signed a bond contract with me. Wang Tingting was thunderstruck, frozen in place, unable to comprehend. After a long pause, she came to her senses and sneered, come on man, what's in it for you? She's just a grade unit, not even qualified for the city championship. Even with a modification core, her attributes might barely reach grade. Why would you contract her? Wang Tingting's words were like a bucket of cold water, leaving Xingming disoriented. She shrank her shoulders, stepping back until she stumbled, only to be steadied by a warm, firm hand. Who says Xingming can't participate in the city championship? Su Chen's cold gaze pierced Wang Tingting's swollen face. There are no naturally born SS grade mecha girls. Even a grade unit can excel with proper nurturing. I will take her to the city championship. As a chief modifier, he saw no junk vehicles, only whether the funds, skills, and materials were sufficient. With enough money and materials, he could even modify a rocket. Fine, fine. Wang Tingting laughed in anger, her speech faltering. I look forward to meeting you on the track. But don't let Xingming fail to reach grade and end up watching from the stands. We will compete. Su Chen's tone was firm, as if stating a fact. Xingming gripped his fingers tightly and slowly looked up. Through tear-blurred eyes, his towering figure seemed like a mighty tree shielding her from the storm. A surge of unprecedented emotion swelled in her chest. Guilt for her cowardice, guilt for her retreat. Her master had already stood unwaveringly before her, blocking all malice. Could she still retreat? Could she still be afraid? She stopped trembling. For the first time, she met Wang Tingting's gaze as an opponent. Without humility, without fear. Only a blazing fire fueled by humiliation burned in her eyes. Wang Tingting, you villain. We'll see you on the track. She enunciated each word. Then hoisting the bewildered Su Chen onto her shoulder, Master, let's go. Until the two disappeared from the Mech Protection Association's entrance. Wang Tingting snapped back from her humiliation. Clutching her swollen cheek, she muttered curses. Damn it, he's just a lousy modifier. What's he so cocky about? I hope he actually manages to bring that junk car to the city championship. Originally, she only wanted a decent result in the city championship. Now she changed her mind. She aimed for the top 3 in the city championship. An ordinary pilot status was lower than a modifier's, but if she became a top 3 finisher, a modifier who only made white cores would amount to nothing. Modifiers needed to make a living too. They relied on racers and mecha girls for advertising. Otherwise, with so many modifier shops, why would racers bring their mecha girls to yours? Brother Lin, you have to help me. Help me get a good rank in the city championship, or I won't be able to live with myself. Wang Tingting shook the arm of the blonde beside her, her eyes pitiful. She was displeased with Lin Haijun's cowardice just now, but knowing she still needed him, she buried her dissatisfaction and pretended not to notice. He'll help you, of course. Lin Haijun, feeling guilty, quickly said, Tingting, don't worry. He'll get you the Blazing Star Prime. Once Gold Falcon reaches grade, he'll arrange a green-grade modification core for you. We don't care about that white junk core. Brother Lin, you're the best. Wang Tingting nestled in Lin Haijun's arms, her heart hardening with resolve. Just wait. Once she won the city championship, became Binhai City's star pilot, and joined the Star Crown Club. She would find that shop and force it to close, erasing it from Binhai City. Impulse felt good in the moment. But after venting, Xingming felt as if the sky had fallen. Master, I'm sorry for dragging you into this. On the sky rail, Xingming bumped her forehead against the window in dejection. I spoke without thinking. It must have caused you a lot of pressure and trouble, right? If we can't make it to the track, we'll be ridiculed forever. And I made you waste a modification core. Don't apologize. Su Chen rolled his eyes, grabbing her shoulders to face him. Who am I? You? You are Master. Xingming wasn't used to meeting his blazing gaze, and quickly looked away. No, I mean, what is my profession? Your profession? Xingming blinked, her big eyes hesitating. Oh no, my master, meow. Su Chen. I'm a modifier. He cleared his throat and said solemnly, as a modifier, do you think ID lack modification cores? If it's destroyed, it's destroyed. He'll craft another one when we get back to the shop. As for the pressure of the competition, don't worry. No pressure, no motivation. Comrade Xingming, now we have to work together. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Xingming felt genuinely encouraged and clenched her fist like Su Chen, then tilted her head in confusion. But master, can modification cores really be crafted so easily? I heard modifiers have a low success rate. Wouldn't constant failures waste a lot of materials? And materials cost money, right? Well, Su Chen was taken aback. He never seemed to fail when crafting modification cores. After all, his method of crafting cores was completely different from the modifiers in this world. And not all modifiers could make cores. Most modifiers in this world were just core dealers with licenses and knowledge. True modifiers who could craft cores held higher status. He had lacked a license and hadn't awakened this ability earlier, which was why he had ended up unable to pay rent. Don't worry, I have plenty of materials. Su Chen lied through his teeth. In truth, he had very few materials left. If crafting cores truly involved probability, he might fail. But he always held an optimistic belief, cross the bridge when you come to it. For now, he just needed to coax Xingming back. For a pure modifier, the happiest moment was probably seeing a self-modified racing car shine on the track, leaving others in the dust. Su Chen cherished that moment. So when Xingming became his mecha girl, his mind was filled with wild ideas, determined to take her to the track and shock all the pilots who looked down on her. But ideals were grand, reality harsh. Currently, the most authoritative and official junior competition worldwide was the city championship, held in every major district. Track difficulty was strictly controlled, ensuring minimal variation between districts. Taking Xingming to the city championship required more than words. The problem was that only grade mecha girls were eligible for the city championship. Xingming was grade, strictly speaking, minus. So he had to upgrade her. Upgrading from D to C required one attribute to reach the passing line, plus a primary star prime, matching her star emblem attribute. Xingming's star emblem was Radiance, so she needed a Radiant Star Prime. At that moment, Xingming was happily sipping a can of orange-flavored high-energy nutrient drink, her little feet dangling and swaying gently as she sat on a stool. Sensing Su Chen's gaze, her cat ears twitched, and she tilted her head with a meow. Amitabha form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Su Chen chanted silently 3 times and looked away troubled. If the passing line was 60, none of Xingming's 5 attributes qualified. Far from it. The closest was cornering performance. He sorted his chaotic thoughts, listing the tasks ahead, while muttering, first prepare multiple modification plans. One must get Xingming's cornering attribute above 60. Then check the race network for any upcoming open tournaments with primary star primes as rewards. Use modification cores tailored to the track format to secure the star prime. That should steadily boost Xingming to grade. And the most important thing, Su Chen sighed, drawing a rough steering wheel on the paper. Even after transmigrating, I still have to get a driver's license. Master, it feels a bit strange, meow. There's nothing strange about it. Modifications require this, you need to get used to it. But it always feels a bit embarrassing. Enough, stop the nonsense. Be serious. I'm starting. In the modification room, the night cast mottled shadows through the window. Xingming had already transformed into her racing form, her chassis lifted about 1.5 meters by 2 jacks with all 4 tires and the undercarriage suspended in the air. Su Chen frowned, carrying a flashlight and a wrench as he paced around Xingming's body, his gaze sharp as an eagle's. Once he entered work mode, his usual lackadaisical demeanor vanished, replaced only by focus and solemnity. I noticed last time that your tires aren't up to par. For a car meant to race, you've got to use semi-slick tires. With a tire change, your cornering performance is bound to improve at least a bit. Tires, seemingly an insignificant part of a race car, actually have a huge impact on performance. Good tires not only enhance cornering capabilities, but can even improve the driver's road feel. However, Su Chen had little road feel. After all, aside from being a modifier, he was just an ordinary person with basic driving skills. Yet he knew which tires suited Xingming. Tire change, meow. Xingming's voice sounded a bit tense. That's right. As he spoke, Su Chen deftly removed the tires and used a pressure relief valve to release the air from Xingming's factory-installed wheels. The rims were still usable. However, due to limited resources, the rim maintenance was skipped entirely. He noticed that even with the tires mounted on the tire changer, a faint photonic connection remained between the wheels and Xingming's body. In her vehicle form, a mecha girl's entire body seemed to retain normal tactile sensation. Su Chen couldn't help but wonder if Xingming could still feel something even after the wheels were detached from the chassis. That was a bit unsettling. It turned out he was right. As the tire changer's blade pried the bead loose, Xingming let out a startled yelp like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. What's wrong? Does it hurt? Su Chen paused, turning to observe Xingming's state. From this angle, he could see the girl in the cockpit lowering her head, her pretty face slightly flushed, her cat ears perked high. No, it doesn't hurt, meow. It just feels cold and tingly. I've never felt this before. Oh, as long as it does. Su Chen continued removing the second tire, his movements much gentler as he asked casually, by the way, what part of your mecha girl form do the wheels correspond to? Your butt. How could it be my butt, meow? Ignoring Xingming's bristling, Su Chen pressed on. Then where? Your heady. Your ribs? Your duodenum. Don't just guess, meow. It's my feet. My feet, meow. Got it, so it's like taking off shoes for us humans. Su Chen pretended to have an epiphany, a faint smile curling at the corner of his mouth. He understood it all. He was just trying to lighten the mood, seeing how nervous Xingming was. It seemed to be working. X1's semi-slick tires, considered entry-level semi-slicks in this world. Based on his experience, these tires had similar strength to the Michelin PS4S from his past life, positioned as high-performance street tires. He had sourced them from a nearby scrapyard. The old man there didn't know their value, allowing Su Chen to snag a treasure. Buying them new would cost around 2,000 credits. The tire-changing process was routine for Su Chen, even a bit dull. But for Xingming, it was the opposite. Her mind went blank, only sensing Su Chen repeatedly fiddling with her wheels. Then suddenly the rim grew hot, and something sticky and scorching wrapped around it. Likely the bead of the new tire, as her master had called it. This was her first tire change, as she couldn't articulate the feeling, but it was rather pleasant. Before she could fully savor this novel sensation, Su Chen's voice abruptly rang in her ears. All right, it's done. Meow. That fast. An hour has passed. Su Chen raised an eyebrow, tapping on the window. Even though I'm a professional modifier and work a bit faster than those amateurs, it feels like you're a little reluctant to stop. Oh no, not at all, meow. Xingming smiled sheepishly. Changing the wheels is just the first step. It's not over yet. In truth, it was finished, but no corresponding modification core had been generated. Su Chen stroked his chin in thought. Perhaps the prerequisites hadn't been met. Recalling his previous modifications to Xingming, adding a front lip and rear wing plus adjusting the chassis, that made 2 modifications. Could it be that modifying 2 parts was necessary to activate the modification core? Su Chen returned to the warehouse to check the junk he had scavenged from the scrapyard. The PVC boards he had used for Xingming's underbody cover were down to scraps, but there was plenty of ABS plastic enough to make a front lip and rear wing. The downforce provided by the front lip and rear wing also affects grip, achieving a similar result to changing tires. However, he hadn't originally planned to go this route. After all, this crude method of improving cornering could lead to excessive grip, ultimately hindering the car's speed, but he had no other choice at the moment. By the time the front lip and rear wing were finished, it was already 9 in the evening. Su Chen installed the 2 parts on Xingming. Unlike the first installation, this time Xingming appeared much calmer. The four wheels' front lip and rear wing dissolved into flowing specks of starlight, finally coalescing beside the jack into a hexagonal block radiating a white-green glow, the newly forged modification core. Su Chen picked up the modification core, and as electronic patterns flowed, the module's information appeared. Unnamed cornering performance specialization modification core. Positive effects cornering 7, stability 3. Negative effects speed 4, burst 2, tire, wear rate 40. Special effects bust 1, cup O, black stockings, high heels effect, special area sensitivity 1. Grade white to green. This modification core was crafted by you. Please name the modification core. Beside him, Xingming had returned to her mecha girl form, standing on tiptoes, curiously peering over. Su Chen's gaze flickered between Xingming's modest bust and her bare feet, lost in thought. This modification core seemed capable of outfit changes. Or did all modification cores have this kind of transformative effect? A name. Let's call it the Black Stockings Big Thunder No. 2 modification core. He narrowed his eyes and smacked his fist into his palm. Such a perfect, high-end, and fitting name. He was practically the god of naming in ancient Greece. But what does special area sensitivity 1 mean? With a serious expression, Su Chen fixed a stern gaze on Xingming. As the saying goes, practice is the sole criterion for testing truth. As both a modifier and driver, he ought to have a thorough understanding of his mecha girl's condition. So a little bit of research shouldn't be a problem, right? Master, this module installation feels a bit strange. Xingming stood under the hall's lights, her black-stockinged legs slightly crossed as she balanced in high heels. The sight was truly captivating. Moreover, her once flat chest had finally developed a pleasing curvature. Feels strange. Where does it feel strange? Tell me. Su Chen looked Xingming up and down, realizing what it meant to feast one's eyes. Those fluffy ears, that fluffy tail. They looked so huggable. While my soles feel kind of tingly. Xingming cautiously took a step, the heels clicking crisply against the wooden floor, yet her face flushed as she shuddered. Nya. Su Chen saw through her embarrassment at once. Also, the special sensitivity 1 was on the soles of her feet. Unexpected, yet understandable. He had thought it might be some more private areas. Like cat ears, cat tails, or something. But no matter. It didn't hinder his appreciation of beauty. Aside from that, any other sensations? Yes, meow. Xingming closed her eyes, concentrating deeply, then clenched her fists and threw a few playful punches in the air. I feel stronger than before, and my chest feels heavier, meow. Su Chen thought to himself, didn't it? From an A cup to a cup. That was a qualitative leap. It seemed the mecha girl had some awareness of the enhancement after installing the modification core, though it was vague. Your feet are the modification core's flaw. Su Chen pointed to a chair with a serious expression. Go sit there, take off your shoes, and I'll check them. Okay. Xingming, without suspicion, obediently sat down, removed her shoes, and revealed a pair of small feet clad in black stockings. Su Chen crouched down to examine them closely. He marveled at how extraordinary the beings known as mecha girls were in this world. Logically, the high heels should have been wheels, yet they could be removed as shoes. It defied all science. But now wasn't the time to worry about science. For Xingming's health, he needed to carefully inspect her feet. His fingers slowly descended. Yet before he could savor the soft touch, Xingming suddenly yelped, her calf tensing, and her foot shot up in a full-force kick. A fragrant shadow flashed before his eyes. Bang! Su Chen's face instantly contorted. A mouthful of blood spurted a foot high. Su Chen's body spun 3.5 times in the air, rolling across the floor until he crashed into a shelf in the corner. Master. Startled by her own kick, Xingming rushed to check on Su Chen. It had been a pure reflex. After installing the modification core, her feet had become extremely sensitive. So when Su Chen touched them, her whole body tingled, and she reacted like a knee-jerk reflex. A mecha girl's strength was many times that of an ordinary human. This near-full-force kick naturally sent Su Chen flying. Master, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Xingming knelt beside Su Chen, helping him up, her small hand tightly gripping his already cooling hand, tears and snot streaming. Master, please don't die. If you die, what will I do? Boo-hoo. Don't cry. Su Chen, pale-faced, lay on Xingming's soft thighs. With trembling hands, he pulled out his phone and slowly raised it. Quick. Call an ambulance for me. The next morning, Su Chen stood at the hospital entrance, still dazed by the passing crowd and cars. He swore he would never be lecherous again, and so fast. He touched his healed jaw in disbelief. Master, what's so fast? Xingming tilted her head, curiously, carrying fruit and milk. From the moment Master woke up until leaving the hospital, his expression and demeanor had been odd. A fractured jaw healed that quickly. Su Chen was astonished. Was the medical technology in this world so terrifying? He only remembered passing out and waking up fully recovered. Yes. Xingming nodded like a chick pecking rice. It was just a minor injury, though it did hurt. Master, they'll definitely hold back and never kick you again. Su Chen was speechless. Xingming truly hadn't meant it. Mecha girls had a built-in prohibition against harming their pilots. So he couldn't blame Xingming, only his own wandering hand. And for being deceived by her cute appearance, underestimating her terrifying strength. If the force of that kick were reduced 100-fold, he wouldn't mind experiencing it a few more times. It's fine. Su Chen silently stepped half a pace away from Xingming and coughed lightly. By the way, where did you get the money for the medical bills? Mecha girl owners can apply for 1 free external injury treatment per year. Xingming shook the bag in her hand. After becoming a pilot, you can apply 3 times a year, and they even give you fruit and milk. Pilots get such good benefits. Su Chen couldn't help but marvel. In this racing-obsessed world, pilots were practically pampered like royalty. Master, what do we do next, meow? Continue with modifications. Su Chen fell silent for a moment. He had no materials or money left for further upgrades. What he needed now was to turn Xingming's modifications into profit. But before that, he needed a ticket into the news. Let's go. He waved his hand. Come with me to get my driver's license. In this world, driver's licenses came in 2 forms. One was the same as in his past life for maglev cars, regular cars, and electric vehicles, but the processing time was shortened to as fast as 1 day. The second was a professional mecha girl pilot's license. To get it, one first needed the basic license, then had to complete a basic track assessment while piloting a mecha girl. The processing time was also 1 day. The assessment track was 10 kilometers long, extremely narrow, allowing only 1 race car to pass at a time. The requirement was to reach the finish line within a specified time without touching any guardrails. Any collision, even a slight scrape, meant failure. The driving school in Binzhou looked like a waiting hall. Su Chen and Xingming took a number and sat on a chair in the bright, spacious hall surrounded by rows of seats like those in a bus station. It was graduation season and also new student season, so the place was packed mostly with young faces in uniforms, their expressions excited. Most people taking the mecha girl pilot's license test were freshmen from league academies. Someone like him was already considered old. Su Chen noticed a huge electronic screen on the right wall of the waiting hall. It displayed a digital map of Binzhou with landmarks blinking to show ongoing or upcoming races. He walked up to the map to get a clearer view. Qiuyue Mountain uphill segment, exchange race difficulty. Location, Qiuyue Mountain, Binzhou. Time, July 9th, 8 p.m. Prize, standard awards for champion, runner-up, and 3rd place. Personal guidance from Qiuyue Mountain record holder Tohai. Longtan exchange race difficulty. Location, Longtan, the end of Line 1 Skyrail. Time, July 8th, 8 a.m. Prize, standard awards for champion, runner-up, and 3rd place. These were all minor races. This was the daily routine for most League Academy students and even professional racers. Whenever they had time and their mecha girl was in good condition, they would keep entering small races to earn money. With enough money, they would upgrade and enhance their mecha girl, then enter higher difficulty races to earn more, thus cycling upward. As the track information scrolled by, a certain landmark in the center of Binzhou suddenly lit up brighter and more luxurious than the others. Binzhou City Center Underground Tunnel Open Race Live Broadcast Difficulty. Location, west entrance of the City Center Tunnel. Time, July 7th, 9 p.m. Prize, standard open race awards, 1 free choice basic star element. July 7th, that was tonight. Su Chen's heart stirred as he clenched his fists. To enter the city championship, he needed a crank. And Xingming had already met the criteria for promotion to crank. Now all that was missing was 1 basic star element. And here it was. There would be no second chance. The pilot assessment must be passed on the first try. Kid, have you ever formally learned how to operate a mecha girl? There's no registration for you in the system. You've never been to a driving school before. The middle-aged instructor glanced at Su Chen, then at Xingming, silently noting another playboy from a wealthy family. A B-steered specialized mecha girl wasn't cheap. Even if the performance was mediocre, the appearance alone could inflate the price by 20. I haven't been to driving school, but isn't self-study an option? Su Chen smiled and said, as long as I pass the exam, it's fine. The exams in this world were quite strict, but they didn't require formal instruction. As long as one passed, it didn't matter where they learned. Yet those who passed without proper study were exceedingly rare. Fine. The instructor didn't say more, handing Su Chen a form to sign. The exam fee is 100 transfer yuan, non-refundable if you fail. The basic license can only be attempted once every half month, and the professional mecha girl license once every 3 months. Su Chen signed and paid, and the instructor stood up, motioning for him to follow. I'm your examiner today. I will be in the passenger seat. Come with me. Xingming followed them to the training ground. Her own driver taking the driving test. She was quite curious. She had never seen Master drive before. She wondered how his driving skills were. Wang Tingting's driving was mediocre, and being on the track with her was unpleasant. But Su Chen was different. He was kind to her. So even if he was only half as good as Wang Tingting, she would be perfectly content. Kid, choose 1 maglev, gas or electric. The instructor led Su Chen to 3 training cars, unscrewed a bottle of water, and took a sip. Gas is the hardest and almost phased out. I wouldn't recommend it. Su Chen examined the 3 cars carefully. The two in the back looked no different from cars in his past life, while the maglev up front used some unknown technology. Its wheels were like tracks, the entire vehicle hovering half a palm's width off the ground, looking quite high-tech. But no matter how high-tech, how could maglev or batteries compare to the mechanical allure of an internal combustion engine? Besides, the interior of Xingming's chassis clearly showed a gas-powered structure. He'll take the gas car. Tisk. The instructor twitched his eye. Another stubborn fool. Gas cars look cool, but they're tough. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. He'll take the gas car. Fine. The instructor opened the door, sat in the passenger seat with a blank expression, and held the scorecard ready to give Su Chen a 0. Su Chen settled into the driver's seat, gripped the steering wheel, and a familiar feeling surged within him. Though he wasn't a racer in his past life as a modifier, he had to understand race cars and driving techniques. His skill level was without exaggeration that of a seasoned driver among ordinary people, not just experienced but technically proficient. Instructor, I heard drivers have rankings from unranked level to S-level, right? So what? The instructor rolled his eyes and said exasperatedly, there's more. Above that are SS and SSS levels. But what's that got to do with you? You'll be lucky to scrape by with a passing unranked today. Su Chen didn't argue. After a quick check of the car, he stared straight ahead. Instructor, are you ready? Ready, stop stalling. I need to finish this before lunch. The next second, vroom. The engine's aggressive roar nearly launched the instructor out of his seat. The clutch engaged at the biting point, and the young man beside him wore a cold expression, gripping the steering wheel like a knight holding a warhorse's reins. No, it couldn't be called a warhorse. The usually docile training car had become a beast poised to strike. The instructor instinctively pressed himself against the seat and grabbed the seatbelt. Su Chen stomped the clutch with his left foot, slammed the accelerator with his right, revving the engine to 4,000 RPM. The turbo began to whine piercingly. Bro, what the hell are you doing? The instructor's shout was feeble against the roar of the engine. Su Chen said nothing, his eyes fixed on the trembling tachometer needle. Through the dashboard, he seemed to glimpse the perfect fusion of fuel and air. His fingers tapped a rhythm, his lips parted and closed as he silently counted down. 3, 2, 1. The moment 1 left his lips, he lifted the clutch to the biting point while stomping the accelerator. The training car's front tires bit into the ground with a screech, rubber screaming against the asphalt. The surge of power slammed the startled instructor back into his seat. Within 0.8 seconds, the engine rev shot from 4,000 to the red line. Boom. The training car launched like a cannonball. Su Chen precisely shifted into second gear. The turbocharger roared in succession, the thrust rolling in like a tidal wave. The starting line was instantly left behind. His sharp eyes saw only the straight track ahead. In his body, dopamine and adrenaline wove a fierce symphony, singing of the freedom and rebellion unique to racing. Ha ha ha. Su Chen laughed with exhilaration while the instructor was so scared he needed to pee. By the track, watching the training car vanish into the distance, Xingming's eyes sparkled with amazement. I never expected Master to know the launch control technique. That's amazing, Meow. If only Master could launch me like that, I wonder how awesome it would feel. She suddenly felt a pang of envy for the training car. Master's first launch control was given to a training car. How infuriating, Meow. 10 minutes later, the training car completed all the tests and Su Chen executed a drift to park perfectly. He rolled down the window, glanced at the parking line, and sighed with a shake of his head. I'm no professional racer after all. This drift parking is still too crude. A pro could align the car perfectly with the line. Mine's way off. But crooked or not, as long as it was inside, it counted. He turned to look at the pale-faced instructor. So, instructor, do I pass? Yes. The instructor nodded shakily, then suddenly opened the door and vomited profusely. In his over a decade as an instructor, this was the first time he had encountered such a terrifying beginner. No, this couldn't be a beginner. Even graduates from league academies didn't possess skills like this. Techniques like launch control. How could an ordinary driver have access before joining a club? Did they really think anyone could become a master through self-study? The same technique applied to mechanical cars and mecha girls was different. A mechanical car was soulless, a dead thing to be tossed around, but a mecha girl could feel pain. Who would dare use launch control on their own mecha girl without professional training? Not to mention the risk of being summoned for TE by the Mecha Protection Association, but who would bear the risk of wrecking the mecha girl? In the instructor's eyes, Su Chen was already pegged as a scion of some club big shot. Only someone with such a background could have enough resources to train skills without ever attending driving school. Su Chen handed the instructor a bottle of water, patting his back. Instructor, can you go on? There are still a few more assessments and the professional mecha girl license test. No need, this is enough. The instructor waved his hand forcefully, his eyes red. Don't torture me, I'm just a small instructor. I'll grade you now. Oh, take your license and get out of my sight. Instructor, that's not proper. Su Chen smiled shyly. It's fine. The instructor finished scoring on the device, finally catching his breath, and looked at Su Chen with a complex expression. The highest rating a regular driving school can give is C. I know you're easily be maybe even a level. You should go through a club's channel. There's no need to show off here. Su Chen chuckled, sheepishly scratching his head. He had no club. What could he do? But C wasn't bad, as Xingming was also C after her upgrade. They could be twin stars growing together. The paperwork was processed quickly. The instructor shoved the clever license into Su Chen's hands, slammed the office door with a dark face, not wanting to spare another second looking at him. Su Chen didn't mind. The sunlight outside was bright. He exchanged a glance with Xingming, a slight smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Benching underground tunnel open race. We are coming. Old Zhang, there's a race tonight. Sorry to bother you again. Lin Haijun pushed open the office door and couldn't help but pause. Coach Zhang, usually ruddy-cheeked, looked utterly haggard today, giving off a pale, fragile impression. What's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? The coach looked up at the blonde-haired man entering and sighed. Don't even mention it. Today I ran into some rich brat from a club. He completed the training track in under 8 minutes, even mastered techniques like launch control, and walked away with a Class C driver's license. What's he after? Someone from a club came to you for a license. Lin Haijun froze. What's wrong with him? I think he's got a screw loose too. The coach grabbed his teacup and gulped down water. He had already downed 3 bottles of mineral water, but still felt a sour taste of vomit in his nose and mouth. What's his name? Let me see if I've heard of him, Lin Haijun asked. I think it's Su Chen. Su Chen. Lin Haijun shook his head. Must be a rookie from some minor club. These young guys are all the same. Never raced a single match, think they're invincible with a bit of talent, and then go around showing off. True. The coach nodded, fairly snorting, just like you used to be. Are you here for tonight's city underground tunnel race? Here are the keys. Remember to put all the cones back after practice. He handed Lin Haijun a set of keys. The blonde-haired man was a friend's son and had come before. Occasionally, he would bring his mecha girl to the driving school's training track to hone his skills, and he usually warmed up with her before a race. He had decent talent, but he spent too much time on women, otherwise he would have met the threshold to join a club. Don't worry, have I ever not put them back. Lin Haijun took the keys and stepped out, but his mind lingered on the earlier incident. Usually after getting a license, drivers would take their mecha girl to the nearest race to test the waters. Tonight the only race in Bincheng was that one. Could it be that this guy was also entering the city underground tunnel race? A direct Class C license meant he was a decently skilled driver. He had thought tonight would be his personal showcase, but now he felt a flicker of anticipation. Lin Haijun's lips curled slightly. Su Chen, huh? Interesting. Night fell. Virum. The roar of a savage engine tore through the street as a silver-white sports car sped past. Its wheels splashed through puddles, spraying a drunken man staggering by the roadside. Hey, is that how you drive? The drunkard raised his bottle and cursed, but paused when he spotted the wolf head emblem on the mecha car's rear. This emblem doesn't seem to be from a Bincheng team. Heading this way late at night. He seemed to recall something and pulled a ticket from his pocket. Right. The Bincheng underground tunnel race. Damn, I drank too much and almost forgot about it. He checked the time and immediately scanned a shared magnetic levitation bike to rush to the venue. The Bincheng underground tunnel race. Though not an open event, it attracted promising drivers each time due to its generous prizes. These drivers and their mecha girls were also likely to appear in the city championships. Watching the race early and gathering intel on them would help in predicting the top 3 at the city championship. That meant not only a hefty sum of money, but also bragging rights among friends over tea. Timers, route maps, speakers, and an electronic screen filled the scene. The air was thick with a mix of gasoline, rubber, and fried food. At the starting point of the Bincheng tunnel underground race, neon lights cast dappled shadows on the damp ground. By day, this was a desolate underground tunnel entrance. By night, it was a haven for star chasers riding magnetic levitation cars dreaming of glory. These youths with their dyed hair and punk style idolized not singers or actors, but drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening audience. I'm your old friend Brother Chicken. Near the tunnel entrance, a temporary stage had been set up. The host, Brother Chicken, clad in a sequin suit and sporting an exaggerated heart-shaped pair of sunglasses, was belting into the microphone with his raspy voice. Welcome to the Bincheng City Underground Tunnel Race. There are 10 minutes left until the race begins. Most drivers are here and getting ready. Since there are new viewers, let me briefly explain the rules. The Bincheng Underground Tunnel is 7.8 kilometers long, and our drivers and their mecha girls must complete 20 laps. The race uses a staggered start based on a lottery draw. Malicious collisions and illegal modifications are prohibited. With that, Brother Chicken signaled the backstage crew. All right, I'm done yapping. Now let's turn the spotlight to the contestants. You can start cheering for your favorites. Haha, Brother Chicken still as passionate as ever. Lin Haijun leaned against his mecha girl, puffing, watching Brother Chicken's stand-up routine on the big screen. Master, come in and get ready. Po Feng's urging voice sounded in his ear. Oh, it's just a small race. No need to be so serious. Lin Haijun waved dismissively. To him, the Binching underground tunnel race was indeed minor. He had run it no less than 10 times and knew the track like the back of his hand. He might not secure first place, but a top 3 finish was almost guaranteed. And a top 3 spot would earn him a primary star essence fulfilling Wang Tingting's task. Even small races deserve serious effort, Pufeng pouted from inside the cockpit. Since her driver wouldn't come in, she decided to check the vehicle's condition herself and report later. Vroom vroom. Suddenly the roar of an engine echoed from afar like a lion's warning growl as it patrolled its territory. Lin Haijun and the other drivers all turned to look behind. A blinding headlight cut through the night, revealing a silver-white mecha car. It executed a silky drift, tires screeching against the asphalt, and slid into the starting line, aligning perfectly with Pufeng. Through the windshield, the driver could be seen handling the steering wheel with one hand, eye sharp as an eagle's. This is... Lin Haijun's pupils contracted as he spotted the wolf head emblem on the silver mecha car. Northern Wolf. He recognized the team's logo. But what was the Northern Wolf team from K-City doing? The door opened, and a man in a black leather jacket stepped out, removing his helmet to reveal a sharply defined... He glanced at Lin Haijun briefly before looking away, not with arrogance, but clearly not regarding Lin Haijun and Pufeng as worthy of attention. Damn it, what kind of look is that? Lin Haijun clenched his fists, grinding his molars, yet sweat began to bead. A professional driver from the Northern Wolf team showing up for such a small race. It was as suffocating as being coiled by a python. Not to mention the skill of precisely parking the car at the starting line. Even that smooth drift would take him 2 years to master. Yet just as the drivers were overwhelmed by the Northern Wolf's presence, another engine sound emerged from the end of the road. Not as explosive as the previous mecha cars. But it was steady, restrained, and harbored a lethal edge like a leopard stalking its prey. No blinding headlights, no frantic braking sounds. A blue and white mecha car, looking almost ordinary, appeared at the edge of the vision. Lin Haijun paused, feeling he had seen it somewhere before. As he stood frozen, the mecha car executed a near-perfect drift, hugging the guardrail, and slid into the starting line. When it came to a stop, silence fell over the crowd. The man in the black leather jacket from the Northern Wolf team looked surprised, while Lin Haijun finally realized. Wasn't this mecha car Xingming, which Wang Tingting used to drive? Though it showed obvious signs of modification, the car's main body hadn't changed much. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out, his expression calm, even carrying a faint air of lifelessness. Su Chen didn't even glance at the crowd. He simply bent down and poked Xingming's tire. How is it, Xingming? Report on the tire wear. The race is about to begin. All contestants, please prepare for departure. Brother Chicken's raspy voice crackled through the speakers. Su Chen donned his helmet and gripped the steering wheel. Master, coolant temperature is normal, oil pressure is normal. The neural network is fully connected to the cockpit. From Xingming's spine, tendrils of unknown material began to extend. These tendrils connected to the cockpit's steering wheel, brakes, clutch, and other controls. As her voice faded, the tendrils emitted a faint, ethereal glow. Tire wear at 3. That's just ridiculous. Su Chen sighed, leaning back into his seat as he relaxed. The 3 was data provided by Xingming. The distance from the tuning shop to the track was about 15 kilometers, meaning by the end of the race her tire wear would reach 30. This was the core negative effect of the 40 tire wear modification. An immediate tangible consequence. Such tires would certainly be deemed unqualified for a race. But now he had no choice but to grit his teeth and press on. Master, if we lose this race, will you blame me? Xingming's timid voice came from the front. Through the rearview mirror, Su Chen could see the girl's lovely face etched with nervousness and fear. They had only just formed their contract with zero time for synergy, and now they were immediately thrust into a relatively well-known race. Even the 2 competitors beside them exerted immense pressure on Xingming. To the left were Lin Haijun and Pufeng. Lin Haijun was Wang Tingting's current boyfriend. To the right, a man in a jacket and an unknown mechanoid, reportedly from the Northern Wolf team in a neighboring city. Being a professional racer from a team, he was undoubtedly a formidable opponent. Hey Xingming, what do you like to eat? Su Chen didn't answer her question, instead asking an irrelevant one. Huh, me, eh? Xingming's ears perked up. She tilted her head, thinking for 2 seconds before replying, don't laugh at me, but I like eating big watermelon with stinky tofu, meow. All right then. Su Chen smiled and nodded, though he was surprised by her preference. If we lose this race and don't get the materials, well, go have a feast of big watermelon and stinky tofu to cheer ourselves up. Meow. Really? This time, even Xingming's tail stood straight up. Of course. But won't there be a penalty for losing? Xingming asked, incredulously, seeking confirmation repeatedly. Master, I can accept any punishment, but please don't ever dissolve our contract. Don't worry, I won't. Say it 3 times for the important stuff, meow. I won't. Hearing Su Chen's repeated assurances, Xingming finally felt a bit more at ease. Master, they'll give it my all too. She clenched her fist and took a deep breath. She had to win the stellar materials in this race. Only by obtaining the stellar materials could she advance to the Crade Urban Championship. They'll prove it to all of you. Xingming glanced at Pufeng beside her and murmured softly, "Am not the useless piece of junk you all claim. I can race on the track and unleash my power." Next door in Pufeng's cockpit, Lin Haijun's expression had been strange from the start. The world was a giant coincidence. He truly hadn't expected to encounter Xingming and that tuner here. Well then might as well crush your hopes right now. Lin Haijun cast a sidelong glance at Xingming, barely making out the silhouette of the man sitting upright inside her cockpit. A 2.5-star difficulty race isn't something a fresh-faced newbie can handle. You'll soon realize how naive you are. A faint smirk curled at the corner of his mouth. But when he looked at the Northern Wolf team's mechanoid on his left, his smile vanished, setting aside the Kraid racer who might or might not show up. This racer from Northern Wolf would be his greatest rival tonight. At exactly 8 o'clock, the race officially began with the sound of the signal gun. All racers grouped in sets of 3 mechanoids according to their draw order departed from the starting line. At 8:05, the broadcast rang out again. Contestant No. 17, Yuming Zhuijing, and Contestant No. 24, Lin Haijun Pufeng, please prepare for departure. Yuming. Lin Haijun had a vague recollection. There was indeed a racer by that name in the Northern Wolf team, but he was from the T2 squad, not a main driver. Still, showing up in a small race like this was a clear case of sandbagging. What a poser. Contestant No. 41, Su Chen Xingming, please prepare for departure. What a... Lin Haijun was stunned, nearly jumping out of his seat. Su Chen. He's Su Chen. Staring at the figure in Xingming's cockpit next door, Lin Haijun was completely dumbfounded. The man who had taken the Kraid driver's license from Coach Zhang that morning, suspected to be some club scion, was actually Xingming's current driver, Su Chen. Wasn't he a tuner? How could a tuner have time to hone racing skills? And his driving was even decent. Lin Haijun's emotions were a turbulent mix. Though the world was full of coincidences, he didn't believe this Su Chen could be someone else. That Kraid license must have been obtained by this very man. But he quickly composed himself, rationalizing, so what? A race isn't just about skill. It's also about the mechanoid's performance. It hasn't even been a full day. There's no way he could have upgraded Xingming that much. Remembering Wang Tingting's description of how terrible Xingming's performance was, he regained his confidence. 3 seconds to launch. Virum. The roar of engines erupted from all 3 mechanoids, vibrations surging through every chassis. Su Chen stared straight ahead, his pupils gradually contracting. The surging heat in his blood instead cooled into a state of calm. 3. He pressed the clutch lightly with his left foot, controlled the RPMs with his right foot on the accelerator, and gripped the steering wheel firmly at the 9 and 3 o'clock positions. 2. Xingming's engine roar suddenly intensified. Su Chen's muscles tensed all over. 1. The instant the signal gun fired, Su Chen floored the accelerator and released the clutch simultaneously. The hot melt tires spun wildly, scorching white smoke against the asphalt. Bang! The next second, Xingming shot forward like a cannonball. Force slammed Su Chen deep into his seat, crushing his chest so hard it was almost impossible to breathe. In 0.5 seconds, the neon lights at the starting line blurred into flowing streaks of color. The brutal acceleration from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds nearly made him dizzy, but a smile involuntarily spread across his face. It was back. Everything was back. The feeling of track camaraderie with top-tier racers on Earth. The freedom and madness he as a tuner had deeply craved. Master, this is the fastest launch I've ever had. Xingming's voice came from the front, tinged with surprise and delight. Just as she had imagined, this kind of launch was incredibly exhilarating. A contemptuous smirk curled beneath Su Chen's helmet. Who does Wang Tingting think she is? What does she know about a proper launch? Not just Wang Tingting. Lin Haijun didn't know much either. Su Chen glanced at Pofeng's reflection in the rearview mirror. With just that one launch, he had already left Lin Haijun over 10 meters behind. Inside Pofeng's cockpit, Lin Haijun gripped the steering wheel tightly, fine beads of sweat forming on his temples. His launch proficiency is this high, eh? Is he really just a Kraid driver? He clenched his jaw, his eyes fixed on Xingming's taillights. A true master reveals themselves with the first move. That launch was so fast it nearly made him despair. He even suspected Su Chen had swapped out the mechanoid. How could a Kraid machine achieve this speed? What made Lin Haijun even more uneasy was this: in the rearview mirror, the Northern Wolf team's driver and mechanoid hadn't moved at all, still keeping the machine in a ready state. Was it a mechanical failure? Or something else? No, it couldn't be a mechanical failure. Lin Haijun's heart sank. He clearly remembered that the mecha was in an activated state at the start. Then there was only one answer left. The opponent had done it on purpose, deliberately holding back at the starting line. That driver from Northern Wolf believed he could let them have a head start and still outrun them all. What overwhelming confidence. Is this what it means to be a professional driver from a club? It seems securing first place tonight might be a bit more challenging. As he pondered, Lin Haijun realized that Pofeng had unknowingly caught up to Xingming ahead. The distance between the two mechas was gradually shrinking. The advantage Su Chen and Xingming had gained from the perfect launch start was being steadily eroded by Pofeng's absolute speed superiority. Half a minute later, Xingming and Pofeng were running side by side. Lin Haijun glanced at Xingming, who was slowly being overtaken by Pofeng, and a smirk curled at the corner of his mouth. The gap in performance between mechas isn't something that can be easily bridged by mere driving skill. Pofeng, leave them in the dust. Don't give that mecha any thought of overtaking. Yes, sir. Pofeng, who had been carefully observing the road ahead, immediately responded. Don't worry. Pofeng will never let her overtake us again. Master, 300 meters straight, then a sharp 90-degree right turn. In the cockpit, Xingming had just finished reporting the road conditions when she saw Pofeng zoom past them. She pouted in dismay, her cat ears drooping. Master, that mecha has overtaken us. I'm sorry. Even though Master used your skill to gain an advantage in the end. She knew her own performance was holding them back and couldn't help but fall into self-reproach. If only her speed performance were slightly better, there was no way Pofeng could have overtaken them so easily. It's alright. Su Chen looked calmly at the taillights of Pofeng, which were fading into the distance ahead. His gods, I was constantly analyzing Pofeng's data. After equipping the Thunderbolt No. 2 modification core, Xingming's cornering attribute had reached 61, but her speed was only 43. Pofeng's speed attribute was a full 58, a 15-point difference that translated into an absolute disadvantage on the straights. Even his superior launch start technique over Lin Haijun was useless. Being overtaken on the straights was only a matter of time. But a race isn't solely about the straight sections, and the true challenge doesn't lie there. Being fast on the straights is good. However, being fast through the corners is what truly counts. Seeing the little cat-eared mecha's low spirits, Su Chen smiled and gently reassured her, don't worry, Xingming. Let the bullet fly for a while. Boo. Bullet. Xingming tilted her head, then suddenly looked serious and said with all sincerity, Master, we don't have bullets, and using a firearm during a race is illegal. B. But if you absolutely must use a gun, Master, I can find a way to take the blame for you. Su Chen. All right. He had almost forgotten that Xingming hadn't seen let the bullets fly. Ladies and gentlemen, all the drivers have now started. Bro G stopped mid-sentence and bellowed at the top of his lungs. No. OMG. There's still one driver waiting at the starting line. Whoosh. All cameras focused on the starting line at that moment, projecting the silver-white mecha with the wolf head emblem onto the big screen. A black wolf head. If I remember correctly, that's the emblem of the Northern Wolf team from the neighboring K-City. Bro G gripped the microphone tightly, his expression solemn as he wiped imaginary cold sweat from his forehead. Friends, we're doomed. Something's going to happen. I can already feel that tonight's race will be a bloodbath. Bro G, is it really that serious? The cameraman beside him shuddered. What do you know? Bro G moved the microphone away and lowered his voice. This is hyperbole, a rhetorical device. This is excitement. Without exaggeration, how do you rouse the audience's emotions? And when the words Northern Wolf were heard, the audience in front of the electronic screens erupted. Wait, why is a member of Northern Wolf in benching? So is this Northern Wolf any good? Good is an Northern Wolf is the top team in neighboring K-City. Their T2 team captain, Wolf King Li Yini, was the champion of last year's K-City Championship. Damn, that impressive. Then tonight's race is going to be a real show. At the starting line, the silver-white mecha's engine had already started, but it was still warming up. It sat silently in the dim light of the tunnel lamp like a beast lying in wait. Master, we've already let them go for 30 seconds. Aren't we starting yet? In the cockpit faced with the mechas, urging Yuming merely raised his wristwatch and glanced at the time casually. Zhuiying, don't rush. The boss sent us to benching for training. Since it's training, it wouldn't be fun if it weren't challenging enough. He unscrewed his water bottle and took a sip. Let's wait another 10 seconds. We'll start in 10 seconds. He had originally planned to let them have a full minute. But the driver he saw tonight had piqued his interest. It wasn't Lin Haijun. He didn't even know who Lin Haijun was. What interested him was the mecha with the dazzling white body and black front lip and rear wing. If he remembered correctly, its name was Xingming, and its driver was Su Chen, a combination he had absolutely no recollection of. But the launch start technique this unknown driver displayed at the starting line had caught his eye. With skill like that, he definitely shouldn't be an obscure amateur driver in benching. However, such a launch start technique could also be a fluke, like stomping on the accelerator randomly and landing near the optimal grip and RPM. Regardless, he would find out once he caught up. Master, 10 seconds have passed. Zhuiying's voice, full of resentment, sounded again. As a mecha, she yearned to shine on the track. What was the difference between this warming up at the starting line business and just loitering around outside? All right, I know. Yuming sighed, and his fingers resting on the steering wheel suddenly tightened. In that instant, the casualness and indifference on his face vanished, replaced by seriousness and focus. Clack. The moment the second hand on his watch ticked over, Yuming instantly released the clutch with his left foot, while simultaneously pressing the accelerator to 3/4 with his right. Too light, and it's weak. Too heavy, and it spins. The speed of the clutch release and the pressure on the accelerator achieved a delicate balance. Vroom. The air pressure kicked up dust and leaves around the wheels, and the engine's roar erupted into propulsive force. This sudden burst of sound startled Bro G and the audience in front of the screens. By the time they reacted, all they could see were the taillights of Zhuing and a trail of white smoke. SSS. What terrifying acceleration. As the permanent host of the Bincheng underground tunnel race, Bro G was considered well-traveled. He swore that the starting speed of this mecha was definitely among the top 5 he had seen in his career. How are other drivers supposed to survive with a competitor of this level joining our novice race? Bro G was. The Bincheng underground tunnel race was originally intended to provide mecha upgrade materials for talented rookie drivers in need. A driver like this was just here to crush the competition, a complete waste of resources. Bro G didn't let them have a 40-second head start. So what? Bro G glanced at the cameraman and snorted. If I were him, I'd let them have 5 minutes. But the rules didn't prohibit such drivers from participating. It was just bad luck for the other drivers in tonight's race. Focus the camera on that downhill hairpin turn. Bro G directed the cameraman. That's the tricky corner of our Bincheng tunnel race. By my calculation, some drivers should be arriving there soon. The Bincheng underground tunnel wasn't wide. The track could only accommodate a maximum of 3 mechas side. As the race progressed, some drivers had already reached the most challenging section of the first lap and the most difficult part of the Bincheng underground tunnel. After a series of gentle curves, there was a 500-meter straight acceleration track. Notably, this straight was a downward slope. The bottom of the slope was immediately followed by a sharp, tricky turn. Undoubtedly, this section severely tested a driver's control over speed and grip. Without excellent cornering skills and formidable mecha performance, one could only slow down here. Master were approaching the continuous curves. Pofeng's warning pulled Lin Haijun's attention back from the rearview mirror. He had been checking it frequently along. He and Pofeng had long left Xingming far behind. There was no trace of Xingming in the rearview mirror, and he didn't care about Su Chen and Xingming anymore. They were already defeated foes. What he was focused on was the driver from the Northern Wolf team. Lin Haijun wondered when that driver would catch up. After smoothly navigating 4 gentle curves, he faintly heard the roar of an engine approaching. The sound was like a wasp's buzz, exceptionally clear in the quiet tunnel. Has he caught up? Fast. Truly worthy of Northern Wolf. Lin Haijun instinctively glanced at the rearview mirror again, but what he saw left him stunned. The darkness at the end of the tunnel was suddenly torn open. A white silhouette burst out of the curve like the wind. The airway from its drift made the side rails tremble, and its 2 dazzling headlights stung his eyes. It was a mecha. The light in the tunnel was dim, and he couldn't make out its exact color. But he was sure it wasn't the Northern Wolf driver's mecha. The Northern Wolf mecha had round headlights. This mecha's headlights were long, narrow diamonds flanked by downward-pointing vertical arrays of dot matrix lights, like a pair of unfolded wings. But Lin Haijun swallowed hard in disbelief, his hands on the steering wheel sweating faintly. Because aside from Northern Wolf, the only mecha behind him and Pofeng was one. It was an existence he found impossible to believe. Xingming. With a thunderous roar, Su Chen and Xingming caught up to Pofeng. From the moment they entered the continuous curves, the cornering prowess of Xingming 61 had finally bared its fangs. Su Chen was uncertain about other mecha girls, but in terms of cornering performance, Xingming could effortlessly overpower Pofeng. Master, my speed seems a bit faster than before. We're going to catch them, meow. Xingming's voice brimmed with joy and excitement. Although Lin Haijun was not Wang Tingting, he was still closely tied to her. Keeping up with Lin Haijun and Pofeng was already a great delight for her. Because we're drafting off Pofeng. Do you know what drafting means? No, meow. Ahem, never mind. Su Chen fixed his gaze on Pofeng ahead. True to its name, Pofeng tore through the air ahead, leaving behind a slipstream zone with almost no aerodynamic resistance, just enough for one car. Now he and Xingming were in that zone. As long as they clung to the area behind Pofeng, overtaking was merely a matter of waiting for the right moment. And that moment had arrived. Thanks to the drafting advantage, Xingming wouldn't be left behind by Pofeng for a short while. Ahead lay a long, straight downhill stretch, and at the end of it a curve with a bizarre angle like a demon's horn came into view for both Su Chen and Lin Haijun. The challenging corner was upon them. Everyone focused intently. Both mecha girls reported their pace notes, almost simultaneously, their voices urgent. Pofeng, master 200 meters downhill into a sharp right turn. Xingming, master 200 meters gentle slope into a sharp right turn, meow. A whoosh. The deceleration sign flashed past in their peripheral vision. Lin Haijun took a deep breath. In the rearview mirror, the white phantom clung like a persistent shadow, also like a darkness shrouding his heart. Previously, when he reached the deceleration sign, he would have already started braking. But with Xingming looming menacingly behind, perhaps out of a driver's pride or an unwillingness to show weakness to Su Chen this time, he did not brake. The howling wind seemed ready to shatter the windows. The tunnel wall lights stretched into blurred lines. The moment he stepped out of his comfort zone, this once familiar corner now lunged at him like a terrifying beast. Damn it. How can I lose to a rookie who just got his driver's license? Lin Haijun gripped the steering wheel tightly, grinding his teeth, veins bulging on his forehead. The downhill curve loomed closer in his vision, and his heartbeat quickened. Finally, before his heart could leap out of his chest, he slammed on the brakes. With a screech, searing white smoke billowed from the tires. Su Chen watched Po Feng's taillights illuminate, his expression impassive. This was Lin Haijun's limit, Po Feng's limit, but it was neither Xing Meng's nor his own. The cornering performance of 61 points granted crossing Meng and him more reaction time and operating space. In the second when Po Feng and Lin Haijun began braking, Su Chen, relying on experience and instinct, determined the apex and simultaneously pressed the brake. With a screech, the carbon ceramic brake discs instantly glowed red-hot, like fire. Thick white smoke permeated the corner. Su Chen's body involuntarily leaned forward under the force, only to be instantly pulled back by the seatbelt. At the apex, Po Feng and Lin Haijun, who had braked first, hugged the outer lane. Xing Meng hugged the inner lane. Su Chen downshifted with his right hand and sharply turned the steering wheel with his left. Inertia drift. Under the centrifugal force, Xing Meng's rear began to swing outward, almost brushing against Po Feng's door, but never colliding. At that moment, Xing Meng had overtaken Po Feng by more than half a car length. Checkmate. A slight smile curled at the corner of Su Chen's mouth. The most difficult part was over. Now came the exit point. He tapped the brake lightly with his left foot to adjust Xing Meng's body posture, while his right foot hovered over the accelerator, ready to apply throttle. Meanwhile, Po Feng, now half a car length behind, experienced slight understeer. The tires screeched sharply against the asphalt, and the car body slid sideways, showing signs of losing control. Did Lin Haijun make a mistake? Su Chen glanced in the rearview mirror. Clearly, Lin Haijun was not accustomed to such a high cornering speed, and his grasp of drifting was inferior to Su Chen's. When Lin Haijun realized he was being overtaken and tried to adjust the steering wheel slightly to block him, and Xing Meng the only outcome for him, and Po Feng was loss of control. Lin Haijun was evidently aware of this. So his blocking attempt ceased abruptly, and he could only helplessly yield the path. A race car in a corner was like a frenzied beast. A driver could only merge with this beast. Any attempt to tighten the reins and correct the beast could result in being thrown off by it. The path ahead was clear. Su Chen calmly floored the accelerator. The tachometer needle danced wildly. The turbocharger screamed, unleashing all the power accumulated throughout the corner. Xing Meng. Su Chen shouted. The instant surge of acceleration pressed him firmly into the driver's seat. The engine's roar merged with a wild, unrestrained howl. Full throttle out of the corner. Blow them away. Meow, meow, meow. With a thunderous roar, Xing Meng's body seemed to pause for a moment as it exited the corner, then shot forward explosively the next second. Corner exit boost. This maneuver dealt another heavy blow to Lin Haijun. Both mecha girls burst out of the corner one after another. A series of clattering sounds followed. Even after they had sped far away, the guardrails by the corner still trembled violently. Hey, did you see those two mecha girls just now? What's up with that white mecha girl? That cornering speed was incredible. A group of spectators by the safety fence were still in shock. Unfortunately, the cameras were focused on the leading drivers and hadn't projected the fierce battle onto the big screen. I don't recognize the white mecha girl, but that gray one. If I'm not mistaken, that should be Lin Haijun's Po Feng, right? Lin Haijun had a bit of a reputation here. Every race Lin Haijun would bring Po Feng and almost always managed to snag some official prize. Those who could make Lin Haijun and Po Feng struggle were usually well-known figures, but no one had any impression of this white mecha girl. Just as the crowd was silently speculating, another engine roar echoed. They turned their heads to see a silver-white mecha girl swoop onto the track like a whirlwind. Its nose aimed at the apex, it executed a beautiful smooth drift through the corner. After a brief shudder, the car body quickly straightened at the exit, almost parallel to it. The next second, with a loud roar, the mecha girl's rear ejected 4 blue flames. In a blink, it executed a corner exit boost and vanished from their sight. Holy shit, that's insane. Does anyone know the cornering speed of that mecha girl just now? My camera has a speed gun, let me check. Damn, 178 km/h. My god, aren't they afraid of flying straight off the track? Xing Meng, what was our cornering speed just now? Let me see. Master, it's 158 km/h. SSO, amazing, meow. Xing Meng was stunned when she saw the data, stammering. Master, is my speed sensor broken? Is this a cornering speed I can actually achieve? When she was with Wang Tingting before, her cornering speed was at most 100 to 120 km/h. With Su Chen, just adding a modification core could improve it that much. Xing Meng wasn't stupid, the core must have played a part, but the main reason was Su Chen. Su Chen's skill was far superior to Wang Tingting's by a significant margin. This cornering speed is decent. Actually, given your performance, we could push it a bit higher. We can go higher. Xing Ming's eyes widened, her voice trembling at Su Chen's words. Yes, but considering tire where it's safer to be cautious. Let's just aim for a top 3 finish. Su Chen shrugged and sighed helplessly. Xing Ming stared blankly at the track, afraid to speak. What did he mean by just aim for a top 3 finish? For her, even being in the top 3 was already a dream. Meow. But Master seemed unsatisfied. Master was so cool. Meow. She wanted to learn from Master. With a thunderous roar, the sound of an engine slowly approaching came from behind again. Su Chen knew that on the straight track Lin Haijun and Pufeng were beginning their chase. But they could never be as composed as they were at the start of the first lap. After passing the challenging corner, it was a long straight stretch leading to the finish line. The driver and mecha girl would exit the tunnel and return to the starting point for the second lap. As he drove Xing Ming across the finish line, Pufeng was still 15 meters behind. That was just the gap from the first lap. If he and Xing Ming maintained their form in the following laps, and Lin Haijun and Pufeng had no good countermeasures, the distance between them would only grow. Lin Haijun and Pufeng had no chance left. I didn't expect to see such an interesting driver in a small race like this. At the finish line, a tall figure leaned in the shadow of the dim lights. She slouched against the railing, slender fingers holding a crumpled beer can on which the words nutrient solution beer flavor were faintly visible. The streetlight cast a soft edge on her stern profile, but it couldn't melt the coldness in her crimson pupils. Her narrow phoenix-like eyes were slightly lowered, her gaze casually falling on the track, as if she wasn't really paying attention to the race. Initially, a few youths with dyed hair lingered around the girl, trying to approach and chat while watching the race. After all, the girl was beautiful, with a stunning figure like a rose blooming on an ice field. But when they saw the black collar engraved with warning around her neck, they lost interest. Without a doubt, this was a mecha girl with a unique aura, and the warning on the collar indicated that she was a faulty mecha girl. A faulty mecha girl, no matter how unique her aura, was essentially no different from a scrap car. Flirting with a mecha girl was pointless. Flirting with a faulty mecha girl was a waste of time. In the night, a clear, cold female voice suddenly sounded behind the girl. Queen, it's time to go back. Headquarters hasn't permitted you to wander around. The girl turned to look at the middle-aged woman in a suit. The night wind lifted her jet-black hair into an elegant arc. In the shadows, the corner of her bright red lips curled into a faint sneer. Has anyone ever told you that you dress like a hotel waiter? No matter how much you insult me, it's useless. The middle-aged woman seemed oblivious to the sarcasm, as if long accustomed to it. Watch a race with me. Who do you think will take the top 3? The girl turned back to stare at the track. Droplets of condensation from the nutrient solution can slid down her slender fingers onto the railing, then dripped onto her fair thigh, soaking into her black stockings along her delicate skin. The middle-aged woman sighed, pulled out her phone, and looked at the detailed information on the screen. She recited mechanically, except for Yu Ming the Smuff from Northern Wolf, the other driver's skills are garbage, not worth referencing. So based on the mecha girl's performance, the top 3 will be Yu Ming of Northern Wolf Racing with Zhuejing second, is Lin Haijun with Pufeng, and third is the wild driver, Su Zilong with Fengsu. You people trust data too much. The girl's voice was unreadable. Because data reflects everything. Is that so? Yes. What if the top 3 are different? Who? The middle-aged woman raised an eyebrow. The girl pointed to the second to last pair of names on the data board. Su Chen and Xing Ming. They can make the top 3. The middle-aged woman immediately pulled up Xing Ming's data and glanced at it, sneering dismissively. A class car with such poor performance. It can't even make the top 10. Then how about we make a bet? Bet on what? Bet on a month of freedom. The girl turned her indifferent gaze falling on the middle-aged woman, as if her freedom were just a common commodity in a store. If they make the top 3, you won't restrict my freedom for a month. If they don't, I'll obediently go back and cooperate with your modifications. Deal? The middle-aged woman pondered for a moment, then finally pushed up her glasses and nodded slowly. Deal? Click. The wheels of Pufeng crossed the finish line for the second time. Gravel exploded beneath the chassis like a sudden torrent of crisp cracks. Lin Haijun stared at the flickering taillights ahead, his eyes filled with shock. They were getting farther and farther away. Though he had pushed himself to the limit, the gap between him and Xingming was still widening. In the first lap, it was just over 10 meters. By the second lap, they had been left behind by nearly 50 meters. Su Chen and Xingming handled the corners with exceptional skill, rivaling professional club racers. Their only weakness was the straights, and he and Pufeng could only make up a bit of ground there. But a race could not consist solely of straights. The Binching underground tunnel race was a 2.5-star difficulty track. At this level, it only guaranteed no exceptionally treacherous corners, nothing more. Master, what should we do? If this keeps up, we'll never catch them. Pofeng's anxious voice echoed in Lin Haijun's ears. Clearly, she didn't want to lose. At least a top 3 finish. Our advantage is speed. Lin Haijun gripped the steering while pondering for a moment before saying, if we can't make up for the corner deficit on the straights, we'll have to improve our cornering speed. Pufeng, can we control the car now? Pufeng gritted her teeth. She wasn't sure either. Improving cornering speed had always been a training focus for Lin Haijun and her. In truth, their cornering speed had already increased significantly compared to before, but they were still unaccustomed to the downhill hairpin turns in the underground tunnel race. Without sufficient experience, rashly increasing cornering speed could be dangerous, as downhill speed was the hardest to control. Yet, racing demanded courage, experimentation, and risk-taking. She was no coward. "Master, I want to try." Lin Haijun was taken aback hearing determination and resolve in his machine girl's voice. Losing this race would merely mean missing out on basic stellar materials, but for Pufeng, it would be a significant blow. After all, Pufeng was a class machine. A losing to a class would be a disgrace. Moreover, from another perspective, a class losing to a class would also disgrace him as the driver. He refused to admit he was inferior to Su Chen. "All right, then let's try." Lin Haijun took a deep breath, quickly calming down. From now on, he had to give his all on every straight and gentle turn, avoiding any further mistakes. Meanwhile, outside the track, Bro G, these two machine girls are locked in a fierce battle. "Let me see." Bro G glanced at the camera, and his professional instincts as a commentator immediately sniffed out a hot topic. He made a swift decision. "Quick. Focus all cameras on these two machine girls." Dear audience, the current top 5 are Su Zilongfeng Su, Zheng Gangpeng Wan, Du Ziding Kuang Nu, Li Yaochen Xiefeng, and Mike Ba Yixing. Additionally, 2 other drivers are closely trailing behind. They are our old friend, Lin Haijun Pufeng, and a new face. A staff member seamlessly relayed Su Chen and Xingming's information. Bro G glanced at it, his eyes widening and his voice distorting. "Oh my, how fascinating. A rookie in his first race and a D- machine girl are going toe-to-toe with our old friend. What magic do they possess? Let's turn our attention to the big screen." Bro J's words immediately stirred up a commotion among the spectators around the track. Many knew Lin Haijun and Pufeng. Not to mention Lin Haijun's decent skills. He was a regular at the benching underground races and knew the track well. As for Pufeng, a class machine girl, she should easily outperform at class 1. Could they be intentionally holding back? But soon they changed their minds. In the 3rd lap of the benching underground race at the downhill hairpin turn, Lin Haijun watched Pufeng's speedometer needle climbing steadily, sweat trickling down his temples. Unbeknownst to him, his back was already soaked with cold sweat. Previously, he would decelerate about 100 meters from the bottom of the slope using the deceleration sign as a reference. But now he decided to have that distance, braking only 50 meters from the bottom. Su Chen's Xingming probably brakes around 50 meters too right, he murmured. He couldn't quite recall the specifics as they had no reference point when they braked earlier ahead of Xingming. If we can match their cornering speed, we can beat them. The thought flashed through his mind. Pufeng had already crossed the deceleration sign. Go for it. The downhill turn 50 meters away was right before them. The darkness at the bottom of the bend loomed like a gaping abyss ready to devour. And Xingming, that dazzling white machine girl, had already charged into the darkness under her driver's control. All Lin Haijun and Pufeng had to do was follow suit. Su Chen glanced at the rearview mirror. This time Pufeng was much closer to Xingming. They're getting anxious. He looked away, noting Xingming's current speed, 159 km/h. As the pursuer, Pufeng's speed would only be higher, edging closer to danger. About 20 meters from the bottom, he stepped on the brakes, and Xingming instantly cut into the turn. Not 50 meters. Danger. The moment he realized this, Lin Haijun had no way back. Pufeng entered the turn at 165 km/h. The aerodynamic kit was still generating maximum downforce, but the onboard telemetry showed they were nearing the limit. Lin Haijun quickly downshifted and braked. His maneuver was flawless, even faster than ever before. But the braking distance had already exceeded the safe range. The wind battered the windows. The guardrail at the edge of the turn rushed toward them. Turn, damn it. Lin Haijun roared, wrenching the steering wheel. Creak. The front wheels of Pufeng instantly lost traction, tires screeching against the track surface. Master, the suspension system is overloaded. Anti-rollover system warning. Pufeng's voice was urgent and panicked. We might roll over. Lin Haijun tried to correct immediately, but his reflexive overcorrection after hitting the guardrail had gone too far. Oversteer, every rookie driver's nightmare. As Pufeng's rear end swung out, the car's center of gravity shifted, lifting the left wheels off the ground, while the right tires scraped viciously against the track. White smoke from burning rubber and asphalt engulfed Lin Haijun's vision. The world spun. He had no idea where on the track he was. All he could hear were Pufeng's cries, the spectators' screams, and the relentless crashing sounds. On the electronic screen, Bro G and the audience watched in shock as Pufeng slammed into the curb. The next second, bang. The car was tossed as if by a giant hand, flipping 3 full times in the air before crashing to the ground with a thunderous roar, chassis up, blocking half the track, its 4 wheels still spinning wildly. Yu Ming and Zhuai Jing, speeding from behind, swerved in panic, nearly twisting into in shape to barely avoid the wreck. Bro G. The cameraman dazedly poked the equally stunned Bro G. It looks like a rollover. Bro G snapped back to reality, his face darkening. Damn it, I'm not blind. What are you standing there for? Has the rescue team been dispatched? Get them over here to haul Lin Haijun and puffing away. If there's a pilot, amateurs watch the spectacle, experts watch the craft. Bro G stared at the big screen with a complex expression as Xingming pulled away. He wasn't a driver, but he knew enough. He realized it was because of Su Chen and Xingming that the veteran duo of Lin Haijun and Pofeng had crashed. Was this Su Chen really a rookie? Master, it seems there's been an accident behind us. Not seems, it's a fact. Su Chen said expressionlessly. Our opponents, Lin Haijun and Pofeng, have crashed. Xingming was stunned upon hearing this, her two fluffy cat ears suddenly perking up as she trembled. Is it because of us? Sort of. They tried to overtake, got impatient, and lost control of the curve speed. Through the rearview mirror, Su Chen saw Xingming's eyes wide with disbelief. Master, we actually made Lin Haijun and Pofeng crash. Meow. Master, you're amazing. Su Chen quite enjoyed the praise from his own mechanical girl. However, overtaking Lin Haijun and Pofeng was nothing to be proud of. He was merely slightly better at driving than Lin Haijun. Compared to the top-tier racers of his past life, he would only rank as third-rate. Far superior to ordinary people, more professional than veteran drivers, and just a notch above professional racers. In terms of driving skills, he had witnessed a godlike existence, and coincidentally, that racer shared his surname Su. But heaven was jealous of geniuses. His extraordinary talent drew envy from many, ultimately leading to his demise on the track through treachery. Master, can we make it to the top 3 in this race? Xingming's voice carried a mix of hope and uncertainty. Originally, she had no expectations for the final result. She only hoped that no matter the outcome, Su Chen wouldn't despise her, because she had no idea where she stood among the competitors. Until now, with Lin Haijun and Pofeng completely eliminated, a spark of hope blazed fiercely in her heart. Oh, don't worry. Su Chen's tone was firm. Even though they were still somewhat behind the top 3, we will definitely secure a place. And just then, Virum, the roar of an engine suddenly exploded behind them like the howl of a demon. A light flickered in the rearview mirror, and Su Chen looked up to see a pair of blue angular headlights staring coldly back at him through the glass. It's that mechanical girl with the wolf head emblem. Su Chen paused. She appeared only now. He had almost forgotten about that car. Master, she's so fast, Xingming exclaimed at the sight of the pursuing shadow. The shadow was indeed swift, closing in almost in the blink of an eye. After closing in, the shadow didn't accelerate further, but flashed its headlights twice. A provocation. Su Chen squinted. He pulled down with his right hand, immediately downshifting. Xingming's engine speed surged, torque exploding. So what if they were professional racers and mechanical girls from a club? Let's see if you have real skill, or are just a poser relying on your mechanical girl's performance. Xingming was clearly no match for the shadow in straight-line acceleration. When the shadow's front end was level with Xingming's door, he had already gauged the mechanical girl's performance stats. Speed 65, cornering 67, burst 74. These 3 main attributes completely overwhelmed Xingming. It was essentially at the level of a class car. Su Chen's vision darkened. Are you kidding me, buddy? Bringing a class car to a small race like this? That's too much. Little did he know that in the shadow's cockpit, Yuming's usually cold face was now filled with fervor. Hehehe. So you're the one who made that fool Lin Haijun crash, huh? Let me see just what kind of god you are. The shadow ahead sighed, looking unperturbed. Having been with Yuming for so long, she knew what her master looked like when excited. But did he have to take it so seriously against a rookie racer? Yuming was in no hurry to overtake. Passing on a straight wouldn't reveal Su Chen's skill. He drove the shadow like a stalking wolf, tightly clinging to Su Chen and Xingming's tail. He was waiting for the curve that would expose Su Chen and Xingming's true level. Time slipped by, and the downhill section's road signs flashed past the tunnel edge. The battle on the 4th lap's downhill hairpin turn finally began. And this time the protagonists were Xingming and the shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, here they come. They're really coming. Brother Jis' passionate roar echoed over the broadcast. By now the guardrails of the downhill curve were lined with spectators, several times more than before. Virum. Amid the roar of engines, Xingming and the shadow charged down the slope almost side by side. The entire track seemed to tremble under the 2 mechanical girls' dash. At the moment they neared the bottom curve, the battle finally erupted. Yuming, who had been performing no special maneuvers, suddenly accelerated and cut into the inside line without any reason. Squeal. The screech of tires against the track was piercing. Damn, are you crazy? Su Chen gritted his teeth and gripped the steering wheel tightly, astonished by Yuming's audacious acceleration, yet refusing to back down as he launched a counterattack. He abandoned the ideal racing line, forcing his way into the narrow gap that only allowed 1 car. In that instant, the 2 mechanical girls were almost pressed together, taking the curve in parallel with identical postures. Virum. The engine roared at its limit. The suspension system creaked, and the carbon ceramic brakes between the wheels glowed red hot, like fire. On the curve, he and Xingming hadn't fallen behind. but the shadow's stability was 53, a full 8 points higher than Xingming's 45. This meant the shadow was easier to control and could straighten out faster when cornering. And it was this 8-point gap that allowed Yu Ming to drive the shadow out of the curve, first flooring the accelerator. The moment of overtaking time seemed to freeze. The shadow's side window was parallel to Xingming's, mere centimeters apart. Su Chen could clearly see blue flames shooting from the shadow's turbocharger, its body trembling slightly at the limits of aerodynamics. He couldn't make out the driver's face, only saw the track lights reflecting off the helmet like lightning flashing by. The two locked eyes through the windows, and Yu Ming suddenly gave Su Chen a thumbs up. Awesome. Huh. Bro, you're truly awesome. Master, you're so noisy. He can't hear you through the window anyway. The shadow frowned in complaint. Whatever. Yu Ming withdrew his hand and stared intently at the track. Anyway, I'm having a blast tonight, haha. I never thought I'd meet such a skilled racer in a small race like this. I even feel his driving might surpass mine. Humph. The shadow pouted but didn't refute. Because she knew it too. That guy named Su Chen was indeed very skilled. At the curve exit, the shadow's front spoiler had already passed Xingming's front bumper. Yu Ming's positioning of the shadow was precise, successfully forcing Xingming toward the outer lane. Amid the roar of the engine, Su Chen took a deep breath, relaxing fully against the seat as the electric rush from the adrenaline surge gradually subsided. As expected of a professional racer, quite interesting. A faint smile curled at the corner of his mouth. He wasn't flustered by Yu Ming and the shadow overtaking him. Racing had a strict hierarchy testing both the racer's skill and the car's performance. If you can't beat them, you can't beat them. Just accept it, and it's precisely because of falling behind that you gain the drive to catch up. Isu was not someone who couldn't handle losing. Moreover, he glanced at the race sign flashing past the finish line. Yu Ming and the shadow winning the championship didn't affect his chances of obtaining the materials Xingming needed. Because when he and Xingming crossed the finish line of the fourth lap, their overall score had already overtaken the previous competitors, placing them third overall. Xingming, how are you feeling? Su Chen suddenly realized Xingming had been silent for a while. Xingming, he called out twice. After a moment, the girl's weak voice came from the front. Master, I'm sorry, Xingming. Su Chen sighed, interrupting his mechanical girl. Apologizing and being afraid over such a small matter. How badly had she been abused by Wang Tingting? He dared not imagine. He reached out, wanting to pat his mechanical girl's little head. But the limitations of his seated position meant his hand ended up on her rear instead. Yet that didn't hinder him from conveying strength to Xingming. Remember what I say. The track is never a place to compare who is more perfect, but a place to witness who can find breakthroughs amidst imperfection. And right now we are on the path of breakthrough. Silence reigned in the cockpit for a long time. Master, I understand. Xingming's voice trembled slightly, her heart wrapped in warmth. She hadn't expected to receive not scolding, but Su Chen's gentle encouragement. But she bit her lip, her pretty face flushing crimson. But could you please not squeeze so hard, meow? Su Chen belatedly withdrew his hand, letting out a sheepish laugh. Oh, tuners are like that. Our hands sometimes just have a mind of their own, ha. Xingming. Bingqing City Night 2151. Virum. Another mecha girl crossed the finish line, and as time passed, fewer and fewer contestants remained on the track. On the electronic screen, the top three results were Yu Ming Shadow Chaser, total time 46 minutes 17 seconds, average speed 200 km/h. Su Zilong Swift Edge, total time 54 minutes 33 seconds, average speed 171 km/h. Zhenggang Judge, total time 56 minutes 21 seconds, average speed 165 km/h. In normal circumstances, when these results appeared, Su Zilong and Zhenggang would have breathed a sigh of relief. They were regulars of Bingqing's underground races, relying on prize money to save for their Mecha Girls modifications. Today's results had already broken their personal records. Yet now they still stared intently at the giant electronic screen. Zhenggang in particular held his Mecha Girl's hand drenched in nervous sweat. This was entirely because tonight's Bingqing underground race was extraordinary. First, there was the sandbagger from the Northern Wolf team, who started last, yet finished first. Then an unknown newcomer had eliminated their formidable rivals Lin Haijun and Pafeng mid-race. Now they awaited this newcomer's results. The audience waited, and at the front of the stands a cool aloof girl leaning against the railing waited as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the finish line, and I can already hear the engine roar. At Brother Jis' thunderous shout, all camera angles converged on the finish line. Screech. With the piercing shriek of tires against asphalt, two blinding headlights emerged from the darkness at the tunnel's end. They're here. The girl by the railing brightened, standing upright as she gazed toward the sound of the engine. 5 contestants had yet to finish, and she silently prayed. Is it them? If so, the top 3 are still up for grabs. The mecha girl approached rapidly, her entire chassis soon clear in every spectator's view. A dazzling white body, elegant streamlined design, and highly recognizable matrix headlights. Whoa, it's that one. The one that took down Lin Haijun. Someone pointed at the speeding car and shouted. What's her name? Seems like Xingming. There are no more. Inside Xingming's cockpit, Su Chen stared at the track with eyes as sharp as an eagle's. In the latter half of the race, Xingming's cornering speed had actually decreased. This was due to excessive tire wear and reduced grip. To be safe, he had to slow down through the bends. Before slowing, he was confident of a top 3 finish. Afterward, he was less certain. Though he had brought Xingming this far as a driver, he had to prioritize the mecha girl's safety. Xingming, your tire wear is over 30. Should we reduce speed? Through the rearview mirror, Su Chen saw Xingming's tense face. Tires were like shoes. If the shoes wore through, the feet would suffer. If the rims ground against the road at high speed, the pain would be unimaginable. Master, I can do it. Xingming leaned forward, her expression stern, teeth clenched. She had also seen the average speed rankings on the screen. The top 3 positions were unstable. Really? The girl's voice was firmer than ever. The neural connection extending from her spine to the cockpit radiated a dazzling glow. All right. Su Chen took a deep breath. Then go all out. Yes, master. Everything hinged on this moment. She didn't want to let down Su Chen's modifications or his efforts. She wanted to become a more powerful class mecha girl and compete in the city championship. She wanted to trample Wang Tingting underfoot and prove she was no failure. Charge meow. The throttle was floored and the speedometer needle soared to its limit. The synchronization rate quietly rose and the already maxed out speed surged forward a little more. 50 meters, 30 meters, 10 meters. The moment she crossed the finish line, the timer stopped. Su Chen hit the brake with his right foot and the clutch with his left, then sharply turned the wheel. Screech. Xingming's tail swung out, tracing an elegant arc. Tires screeched against the asphalt, leaving 2 black rubber marks. Her chassis slid sideways at nearly a 90-degree angle, gliding through smoke and rolling rubber debris into the parking bay, coming to a steady halt. The engine roar ceased abruptly. Heat wafted up in the white smoke from the tires. Su Chen picked up a bottle of mineral water, calmly unscrewed it, and took a sip. He didn't check the results immediately. Instead, he unbuckled his seatbelt, stood up, and gently patted Xingming's head. Well done, Xingming. Our first race, a perfect collaboration. Xingming disengaged race mode and switched to humanoid form. After the race, she was drenched in sweat, her face flushed, still panting. She looked as if she had been pulled from water, her racing suit clinging tightly to her skin. Every step forward left a smoking rubber footprint. Even though staff had already sprayed cooling mist on the tires, the rims remained scorching. She looked at Su Chen's outstretched hand, her cat ears perking up, and timidly high-fived him. But master, we still don't know our result. The result doesn't matter at all, Su Chen shrugged, looking nonchalant. What matters is that we gave it our all today. This trip was worthwhile. Especially his hand. He decided he wouldn't wash it tonight. Before he finished speaking, they heard Brother Jai's raspy voice from the stands. Dear audience, the most special contestant of this race has reached the finish line. His result will determine the final ranking. I'm sure you've all been waiting. Look at the big screen. The audience turned to the screen, and Su Chen and Xingming did the same. Since they were in the last wave, their names appeared third from the bottom. Second to last were Lin Haijun and Pafeng, already eliminated. Last was Yu Ming, whose result had already put him in first place. With a dramatic drumroll, their names began to flash. Su Chen's face was expressionless, but his fists were clenched. Xingming covered her face with her hands, holding her breath, too scared to look. Su Chen, Xingming, total time 55 minutes 7 seconds, average speed 170 km/h. The result instantly moved up the rankings, pushing third place Zheng Gang and Judge down to fourth. Thunderous cheers erupted from the stands. The Bingqing underground tunnel races had been dominated by veterans for too long, and the audience had grown tired of them. Today they finally saw an unknown driver and mecha girl fight through the pressure to break into the top 3. The 4 cars still on the track were out of contention, having started later than Su Chen and Xingming, but finishing later. The top 3 were set. Spotlights converged on the 3 winners. The entire audience erupted in applause. And Master, W were third. Xingming stood in the spotlight as if in a dream, her voice trembling with disbelief. Yes, we're third. Su Chen patted her head, a slight smile on his lips. We did it. But too bad. I said if we didn't make top 3, I'd treat you to stinky tofu and watermelon. Now no stinky tofu and no watermelon. Master, do we have the basic star essence? Yes. See, can I upgrade to a class mecha girl? Yes. Xingming took a deep breath, her azure eyes blazing with starlight. We can compete in the city championship. Exactly. Su Chen nodded firmly. Xingming's smile widened, her eyes lighting up. Suddenly she scooped Su Chen up and tossed him into the air. Whoosh. Meow. I can upgrade to class. She caught the pale-faced Su Chen steadily and tossed him again. Whoosh. I can compete in the city championship. Long live master. Su Chen's screams echoed across the finish line. Xingming, you brat. Stop throwing me. I'm afraid of heights. Put me down. A bet's a bet. The girl by the railing had returned to her aloof demeanor, but the slight upturn of her lips showed she was in a good mood. For 1 month you can't interfere with my freedom. I go where I please. Queen, this probably doesn't align with the group's rules, the middle-aged woman said, looking troubled. She truly hadn't expected Su Chen and Xingming to make top 3. She couldn't be blamed. Her intel said Su Chen was a rookie who had never competed. Who would have guessed the rookie's driving skills rival the professionals? Rules. The girl's face darkened, the air around her chilling. If you say something, you follow through. I signed an agreement, but I also have the right to refuse cooperation. If you insist on rules, I won't accept any modifications from you. The middle-aged woman gritted her teeth, hesitated, then finally nodded in defeat. Understood. They'll file the paperwork when I get back. And no tailing me, the girl said flatly. Otherwise, I still won't cooperate with any modifications. Understood. The woman sighed, resigned. But she also noted the pair under the spotlight. Su Chen and The girl also gazed at Su Chen and Xingming in the spotlight, her eyes lingering on Su Chen, full of curiosity and scrutiny. I heard this man is also a modifier. Interesting. At the emergency center near the underground tunnels of Binzhou, Lin Haijun had regained consciousness. Yet his neck was still encased in a thick plaster cast, rendering his head immobile. Pufeng sat beside him, adjusting the television angle to face Lin Haijun directly. We lost decisively, she said. Lin Haijun sighed, gazing at the screen, replaying the just-concluded race. Master, I'm sorry. Pufeng bowed her head, twisting her fingers and biting her lip. If my cornering performance had been better, the rollover might not have happened. Guilt consumed her. The accident had left her relatively unscathed, though her condition had deteriorated. But Lin Haijun suffered greatly. A grade 3 concussion and a neck brace. To recover before the city championship, he would have to squander a professional treatment opportunity. A team of medical-type mecha girls who could swiftly heal external injuries. This isn't your fault, Lin Haijun consoled softly. Su Chen has skill, and his mecha girl was clearly modified. From Xingming's cornering, her performance likely surpasses yours. Coupled with my hasty decision, that's why we lost. Master, I recall you entered this race to procure a primary star essence for Miss Wang. Pufeng murmured. Without the primary star essence, Miss Wang will surely be angry. Don't worry about Wang, Lin Haijun waved dismissively. A good buddy of mine has a useless primary star essence, a flowing flame star badge. He'll buy it cheaply. As for us, we must train urgently, especially to improve cornering speed. Otherwise, we might not match Su Chen and Xingming at the city championship. Watching Su Chen and Xingming raise the bronze medal on screen, Lin Haijun clenched his fists. I can't stand losing to anyone, especially them. His battle intent and hostility stemmed not from Wang Tingting's conflict with Su Chen, but from himself. The rollover due to reckless cornering would likely become gossip among Binzhou racers. The only way to wash away this shame was to defeat Su Chen and Xingming fair and square in a public event like the city championship. Pufeng. Yes. The girl by the bed snapped to attention. Starting tomorrow afternoon. No, tonight at midnight. We begin special training. Master, but your injuries. A concussion isn't brain death, Lin Haijun snorted, eyes burning with determination. Discharge immediately. Let's do this. So this is the primary radiant star essence. Su Chen lay on his bed holding a golden orb glowing with brilliance. He had returned to the tuning shop some time ago. The third-place prize in Binzhou's underground race included 2 transfer credits and a primary star essence, the orb in his hand. From the shower room beyond the door came the sound of splashing water and a girl's soft voice humming a cheerful tune. Xingming was bathing. According to the little girl, after racing all night, her body felt sticky. Using her human form to bathe saved the high cost of professional cleaning services, though it couldn't speed up recovery. With nothing else to do, he began studying the mecha girl's upgrade materials. The orb in his hand had a soft, bouncy texture like a water-filled balloon, yet it was as light as a feather. When released, it floated down, gently swaying like a feather. How was a primary star essence used on a mecha girl? Su Chen checked his phone, but online explanations varied. First, for a mecha girl to advance from D to C rank, one attribute must reach the passing line. This required instrument testing, but after his research, passing meant 60 points. As for the star essence, some said to feed it directly to the mecha girl, others claimed to press it into her chest, a few even insisted on holding it while French-kissing her. Absurd. Too lewd. Must expose and condemn. Su Chen voiced strong disapproval, but clicked open the second and third methods for a thorough read. Master, I'm done bathing. Xingming pushed open the bedroom door and bounced in. Su Chen glanced up, instinctively his breath catching. The room's soft light spilled over Xingming. She stood timidly, wearing an obviously oversized t-shirt that clung wetly to her curvaceous form. Her white hair hung damply, droplets trailing from the ends meandering down her slender collarbone before her snowy cat ears drooped limply from the bath, looking fluffy and soft, inviting a touch. Master, your clothes are a bit too big, meow. Xingming muttered roughly, drying her hair with a towel as she tiptoed to the bed. Is there a smaller one? Master, are you listening? She leaned closer, her tail wagging briskly behind her big blue eyes fixed on Su Chen. Master, why are you staring at me? Is there something on my face? She had just bathed after all. Xingming tilted her head, tucking a damp strand behind her ear, revealing her delicate ear and slender neck. The t-shirt shifted with her movement, accidentally exposing a sliver of her pale lower back. Su Chen felt his mouth go dry and quickly looked away. Perhaps the race had bridged the distance between them. Xingming seemed more familiar, almost letting herself go. Ahem, cover yourself better. Su Chen pointed at Xingming's partially exposed chest. He could even see water droplets sliding along the curve. Oh meow. Xingming startled, hastily covering her chest, her cat ears perking up as she blinked seriously. I trust Master completely. Master is definitely not someone with improper intentions toward me. But since Master requests, it'll be very mindful of my attire around you from now on, meow. Damn. Forced into the role of a gentleman. How could he ever show his true colors now? Su Chen felt frustrated but asked helplessly, were you like this with Wang Tingting too? No way. Xingming shook her head, her antenna hair wobbling. Master and I share a bond contract, meow. Do you know what a bond contract means? In human terms, we share the same pair of underwear, meow. And a spiritual contract? Su Chen asked abruptly. Meow. A spiritual contract is way more powerful. Xingming's tail wagged cheerfully behind her. In human terms, you and me and you, mutual penetration, soul, fusion, man-machine unity. Su Chen. Did humans really have no ulterior motives when saying such things? Alright, let's change the subject. Feeling the conversation veering dangerously, Su Chen quickly produced the primary star essence. Xingming, let me test you. How does a mecha girl use a primary star essence to upgrade? What help should a driver provide? It's not that I don't know. I just want to check your theoretical fundamentals as a mecha girl. Faced with Su Chen's question, Xingming fell silent for a moment, lowering her head in a bit of confusion. What's wrong? You don't know? Su Chen was taken aback. She thought this should be basic knowledge for a machine girl. As a machine girl, Xingming should have a solid understanding of this. Because I haven't learned it. Xingming pouted, her cat ears drooping. Previously, Wang Tingting thought I couldn't upgrade to Crade and didn't plan to promote me to Crade, so I wasn't allowed to attend many core knowledge classes related to machine girls. Then what did she make you do? I went to earn money by doing towing jobs. Xingming twisted her fingers nervously, saying pitifully, during public events there are times when the logistics machine girls are insufficient, so they recruit ordinary machine girls and drivers to do logistical towing work, and the event organizers pay a wage. This is one of the jobs we machine girls can engage in openly, meow. Wang Tingting is truly despicable. Su Chen's expression darkened. Skipping class to earn money when she should be studying. Even if earning money is fine, that money isn't spent on It's likely that Wang Tingting had long intended to replace Xingming after graduation, and while Xingming was earning money through logistics towing, she probably comforted herself that it could be for her future modification costs. It's okay, Master, it's all in the past now, meow. Seeing Su Chen unhappy, Xingming instead comforted him, her cat ears twitching slightly. It's precisely because Wang Tingting treated me poorly that I was able to meet such a handsome and capable master. She smiled, her eyes curving and her cat tail swaying back and forth, resembling a sweet little cake, which lifted Su Chen's mood considerably. Well, you sure know how to flatter, huh? Su Chen chuckled in surprise. Xingming stuck out her little tongue and said cheerfully, does Master like to hear that? It's fine, I suppose. Su Chen feigned modesty. Since Wang Tingting didn't teach you well, I'll take it upon myself to provide guidance. He'll look up some information online to study shortly. It was indeed time to study seriously. Initially, his contract with Xingming was primarily aimed at activating, but after spending a few days together and experiencing a race, he had genuinely come to regard Xingming as his future partner. In both the racing career and as a modification master. Boss, I know. A cold voice suddenly rang out from behind. Both Su Chen and Xingming were startled. They turned towards the voice. At the bedroom door stood a tall figure, frozen like a painting. She wore a black dress that perfectly accentuated her graceful figure, highlighting her snow-white skin. Her jet-black straight hair cascaded down, shimmering with a subtle bluish sheen under the light. Her petite face bore a pair of fiery red eyes, a delicate nose, and lips that were lightly pressed together like freshly bloomed cherry blossoms, yet not the vivid red of cherries, exuding a noble and chilling grace. The girl was calmly surveying the bedroom's environment. Her elegant demeanor made it hard to associate her with an intruder. Instead, she resembled a female leopard patrolling her territory. When did she arrive? Su Chen was momentarily dazed. Is she a cat? Not a sound was made. Moreover, this is his bedroom, a private space. Who are you? He frowned. A guest. The girl glanced at Su Chen, her expression devoid of emotion, and casually found a chair to sit down. But even if you are a guest, you can't just barge into someone else's bedroom. The door wasn't closed. The girl pointed to the bedroom door. Even so, the modification shop's door wasn't closed either, the girl retorted. Su Chen felt a darkness cloud his vision. Is leaving the door open a reason to intrude? From various indications on the girl, he realized she was a machine girl. The only machine girl who came to his shop alone without a driver other than Xingming was her. Definitely a rare visitor. You should wait outside for a moment, Su Chen said helplessly. I'm currently discussing upgrading matters with my machine girl. Once we're done here, he'll come out to attend to you. I know, ask me. The girl raised her chin slightly. Su Chen exchanged glances with the girl, paused, and sighed as if in compromise. Then you speak. The machine girl should expand her core, then bring the initial star energy close. Didn't the internet mention some French wet kiss method? Su Chen was not ready to give up. The girl tilted her head, a hint of sarcasm flashing in her eyes. The internet teaches you to use a power drill to treat hemorrhoids. Would you learn that? Su Chen. Well, that couldn't be learned. Expanding the core was something Xingming could do. This should be a basic ability since the inception of machine girls. It was a crystal resembling a budding flower cradled in Xingming's hands, radiating a soft golden glow. Su Chen brought the initial radiant star energy close to the crystal, and the star energy seemed to be drawn and transforming into a stream of light and merging into the core. After waiting a few seconds, a new cluster of crystals as thin as cicada wings grew around the once solitary crystal, resembling petals blooming. Then, without needing Xingming to do anything, the core automatically retracted into her chest. Xingming closed her eyes, and a gentle glow enveloped her, as if she was upgrading. Is that all? Su Chen turned his head to ask the girl. The girl nodded lightly. Really don't need another French wet kiss. The girl remained silent, merely looking at Su Chen with an expression akin to that of observing a small fish, her disdain in her red eyes nearly palpable. Under that somewhat oppressive gaze, Su Chen automatically swallowed back the words he hadn't spoken. As Xingming was still in the upgrading state, he turned his attention to this guest. The Eye of God activated, and he was shocked by what he saw. The girl's luxurious attribute panel almost blinded his titanium alloy eyes. Machine girl information. Name: Queen Star Emblem, Thunderburst type. Speed 76. Cornering 90. Stability 81. Burst 61. Endurance 82. Modification: Core Vortex King 3 purple. Stigmata Frenzy Hunt 3-piece set blue. Speed 10. Stability 10. A roll correction 5. Eternal Heart 1-piece set purple. Endurance 9. Current level SS. Special talent invalid. Synchronization rate 0. Status malfunctioning, unable to drive. Evaluation: a top-tier machine girl with outstanding talent, but has been ruined by a mindless modifier. Without a doubt, this was the first S-level machine girl Su Chen had ever seen. Her attribute panel could be considered quite luxurious, yet something seemed off. Setting aside the malfunctioning and unable to drive peculiar status, a machine girl should awaken her talent skills upon reaching S-level, yet here it states invalid. Moreover, the focus of her attributes. Shouldn't a burst-type machine girl have burst as her primary attribute? Compared to the attributes of the previously seen Golden Falcon, which was a speed-type machine girl, her attributes clearly prioritized speed, followed by burst. For a burst-type machine girl, the primary attribute should be burst followed by speed, and finally cornering and stability. Even if I'm a machine girl, it's impolite for you to stare at me like that. The machine girl named Queen suddenly spoke, her voice cold and piercing. Su Chen couldn't help but roll his eyes. Is it impolite now? Is barging into someone else's room polite? Although the visitor is a guest, this guest is a bit too arrogant. In the moment their gazes locked, Su Chen's eyes sharpened, and he raised a finger to point at Queen's head. Then 7 words escaped his lips. You are sick. You're done for. Su Chen thought the S-class mecha girl before him would fly into a rage upon hearing this. Then he would seize the opportunity to pinpoint the issue and reap a harvest of admiration and astonishment. Unexpectedly, the girl merely gazed at him with calm eyes. After a long silence, Queen slowly nodded. You're right. She paused before adding, I do have a problem. So can you fix it? Such a straightforward question left Su Chen stunned for a long while. After a moment, he nodded, then shook his head. They'll need to study it first before I can say. In truth, he had already spotted the issue from Queen's status panel. Coupled with the final annotation, it was quite clear. She had been ruined by a brainless modifier. In short, this burst acceleration mecha girl had her cornering performance altered to a staggering 90. Wasn't that like forcing a science prodigy with a talent for mathematics to study English? It was utterly mismatched. The core consideration in racing modification is to maximize the vehicle's strengths. On the basis of leveraging those strengths, compensate for weaknesses as much as possible. Some race cars excel at cornering. You can't ruin that just to boost straight-line speed. It would be better to build a new car entirely. But he couldn't say that directly. He had to go through the standard procedure. Inspection costs money too. He rubbed his thumb and index finger together. Do you have any? The girl said nothing, merely pulled out a thick stack of cash from her pocket and placed it gently on the table. Whoa. Su Chen's eyes widened. That stack was at least 20,000. His smile instantly became genuine. The customer is king. A bit of arrogance was perfectly understandable. Next, I'll need you to transform into your racing form. Is that okay? Queen tilted her head, her crimson eyes full of confusion. It was the first time she'd heard of inspecting a problem by transforming into a racing form. Wasn't it always done by scanning the mecha girl's entire body with diagnostic tools, and then crafting a modification plan based on the system's assessment? But then she realized that here they lacked the fully automated modification facilities of headquarters. With that thought, she began to unbutton her dress. "Hey, what are you doing?" Su Chen saw Queen's movements and quickly stopped her. "Taking off my clothes." Queen's face was expressionless, her tone as flat, as if she were stating the weather. "You don't need to undress to transform into a racing form, do you? This isn't a racing suit." Queen continued her actions without blinking. "Transforming directly will ruin it." All right. Su Chen rubbed his forehead in exasperation and quickly stepped out of the room. "I'll make myself scarce. Call me when you're done transforming. You humans have so many rules." Queen clicked her tongue. Su Chen was about to close the door, but got so annoyed he opened it again and said helplessly, "This is basic male-female decency. Don't you understand? I've never been naked in front of a human before." Queen lifted her smooth chin, slightly a hint of mockery in her crimson eyes. "Are you avoiding this because you're afraid you'll develop some desire for me?" She paused deliberately, her tone growing even more disdainful. "As expected, carbon-based life forms have poor self-control. In that case, I'll be sure to keep my distance in the future." Su Chen. There was no talking to her. He slammed the door shut and headed to the bathroom to splash cold water on his face. When he returned to the bedroom door, Queen had already transformed. "Can I come in?" "Yes." Su Chen pushed open the door, and what met his eyes was a strikingly aggressive black sports car. Its silhouette seemed familiar, somewhat resembling the Apollo Evio supercar from his past life, but with far sharper lines. The front design was more aggressive than the original, angular like a drawn blade, every line brimming with pent-up explosive power. The most eye-catching feature was the pair of headlights. Not the iconic fork-shaped design of the Apollo Evio, but the sharp triangular ones reminiscent of the Apollo IE. At that moment, a pair of crimson eyes glowed with an eerie blood-red light, casting two sharp beams in the dim room. Even standing still, an indescribable sense of oppression and killing intent radiated from it. It was as if this wasn't a sports car, but a beast lying in wait for its moment. "Awesome." Su Chen couldn't help but give a thumbs up. "Master, this big sister's car body is so beautiful." Xingming's voice of amazement chimed in from the side. It turned out the little girl had finished her upgrade. Su Chen carefully examined his own mecha girl status panel and found that Xingming was now a class mecha girl. After upgrading to class, each attribute had increased by 1 point from the base: speed 44, cornering 62, stability 46, burst 34, endurance 52. When he looked at the modification core slot, he was astonished to find it was empty. "Xingming, what happened to your black silk big thunder now?" "2 modification core." Xingming's cat ears and antenna perked up as she shook her head blankly. I don't know, meow." Su Chen was baffled. Xingming now had no modification core inserted, yet her attributes hadn't dropped. Could it be? Could this be another one of his cheat abilities in this world? That would be amazing. He could almost see himself reaching the pinnacle as a world-class racer, surrounded by mecha girls living the peak of life. When a mecha girl levels up, she automatically merges the modification core on her body and solidifies it. Queen's icy voice rang out like a bucket of cold water, dousing Su Chen's dreams. "So that's how it is." Su Chen sighed, then slapped his thigh. "I miscalculated. I should have crafted a better modification core for Xingming before letting her level up. It wouldn't have mattered." The black sports car's window rolled down, revealing Queen's fair face. From class to class, only white quality can be solidified. Even if you gave her a better one, it wouldn't stick. She mercilessly twisted the knife. Moreover, white cores of this type offer very limited improvement to a mecha girl, perhaps even less than a single Starlight Stigmata. Starlight Stigmata. Su Chen recalled that Queen possessed one. It was something like the Wild Hunt tri-set and the Eternal Heart single set. He also noticed that after Xingming upgraded to class, she had unlocked a Stigmata slot. Previously, the Stigmata section in the attribute panel was grayed out, but now it had lit up, though no Stigmata was equipped. "Aren't you supposed to be inspecting?" Queen rested one half-bare arm lazily on the window frame, her delicate skin glowing faintly under the light. A few strands of long hair slipped over her shoulder, partially veiling her subtly visible collarbone. She pressed her chin lightly against her arm, squishing her delicate face into an unexpectedly soft and cute curve, but her crimson eyes were filled with undisguised impatience. "It's already late." She paused, then said flatly, "Or are you one of those perverts who deliberately keeps a woman overnight hoping to do something vile?" Tisk. This was getting more and more absurd. Su Chen's vision darkened. "I'm not that kind of person. I'll inspect you right now." He used a jack to lift Queen up, hoping to see a flustered expression on her face. But he failed. Queen remained indifferent, even commenting on the jack with interest, an old-era repair tool. Interesting. Su Chen had no choice but to crawl under the chassis and pretend to take a look. Queen's car body had no issues. The modifications were perfect, the parts as fresh as if just off the assembly line. But she was a mecha girl, not a machine. She was a magical creature. Since she was a living being, one had to consider the impact of mind and spirit on the physical form. What class were you when you were first born? He asked while looking. Class. Queen was succinct. From B to SS, she had solidified her core 3 times. Perhaps those 3 solidifications had created Queen's current distorted attributes. Su Chen felt this was likely the root of the problem. Do you remember when you first became unable to start? I don't remember. Queen frowned slightly. It seems I'm missing a part of my memory. When I became aware that I was myself, I was already a malfunctioning mecha girl. My headquarters is trying hard to fix me because the chairman's daughter needs me modified into a mecha girl she can pilot, but they've never succeeded. Since I'm already S-class, they've invested too much wealth and effort into me, so they haven't given up on me yet. As the conversation progressed, Su Chen noticed that Queen's synchronization rate was gradually increasing. He began to see more information on her panel. Synchronization rate 20 evaluation. A king who should have ruled the track with absolute speed now trapped in a cornering style that is utterly alien to her. When she felt her wings being broken piece by piece, she gave up struggling and let her soul sink into the dark depths. The her before you is merely a beautiful empty city with a magnificent exterior but a heart that has long withered to ashes. After reading Queen's information, Su Chen narrowed his eyes and had a basic understanding. In short, since mecha girls are beings with souls and emotions, under certain special conditions, it's perfectly reasonable for one to suffer from traumatic stress-induced autism, isn't it? I roughly understand your situation. Su Chen lowered the jack, pondered for a moment, and said to Queen, your modification direction is wrong. Take your current Vortex Emperor Type 3 core for example. It's an excellent purple core, but its main enhancement is in cornering and stability. You should be specializing in speed and burst. Queen blinked, a fleeting light seemingly flashing through her crimson eyes. Can it be changed? It can't be changed. Su Chen shook his head. What level do you think my modification shop is? I can't get materials that advanced. Besides, even if I swapped out a modification core for you, it wouldn't make sense. From B to SS, you've already undergone 3 core solidifications. Unless we can undo those 3 core solidifications, he paused. Simply put, it means knocking you back from SS rank to B rank and starting over from scratch. Each advancement would then use a core that boosts speed and burst. Queen lowered her eyelashes, her thin lips pressed together. After a long moment, she turned her head. Then, any suggestions? Her tone was indifferent, but it couldn't hide that trace of disappointment. Suggestions? Su Chen stared at her thoughtfully. Swap to a module that increases burst and speed. The Vortex Emperor Type 3 really isn't for you. I can tell the person who installed that core was trying to turn you into a perfect all-rounder. But that's impossible. He turned around, grabbing a cloth to wipe his hands, and continued, the higher the speed and burst, the harder the vehicle is to control. If you want handling, you have to sacrifice speed. If you want top speed, the driver needs the skill to compensate for unstable cornering. Who is your pilot? He asked without looking back. Tell her to stop chasing corner stability. As a racer, how can you race without a sense of adventure? You know what speed and passion mean. Without speed, where's the passion? The room fell into silence. Su Chen focused on wiping down the tools on his workbench. Xingming curiously looked back and forth between Queen and Su Chen, her cat ears swiveling like little radar dishes, her tail wagging restlessly. If only she, and they, could think the same way you do. After a long pause, Queen murmured soft, what did you say? Su Chen turned around, wrench in hand. But he saw that Queen had already reverted to her human. The dim light of the room seemed to paint the afterglow of sunset upon her. Her shoulder blades were like folded wings, elegant and exquisite. The line of her spine flowed smoothly down to her slender waist, then further down, outlining a perfect peach-shaped curve. Her snow-white skin seemed to glow in the dimness like fine pearls. Queen's exquisite perfection clashed with the dilapidated workshop like a splash of peerless color added to a monochrome painting. Su Chen had seen countless beauties in his past life, but even he couldn't help holding his breath at that moment. Had your fill of looking? Queen didn't turn around. Her cool, clear voice carried a perfectly timed hint of sarcasm. Your heartbeat has sped up. You really are a pervert who gets improper thoughts about mecha girls. Su Chen instinctively averted his gaze. But then he thought, this was his territory. Queen was the one who didn't cover up. Why should he look away? Look, just look. Stare fixedly. I was looking at your star radiant stigmata. Su Chen stared at Queen's slender waist, justifying himself with righteous indignation. There on her waist were mysterious silver patterns, shaped like shark gills. That must be the star radiant stigmata. Oh, Queen said calmly, leisurely putting on her dress, black stockings, and high heels. Humans are always good at finding excuses for their actions. She fastened her buttons and turned around, lifting her fair chin slightly, her crimson eyes meeting Su Chen's gaze directly, like an elegant swan scrutinizing a tourist on the shore. I will consider your advice. She walked towards the door. As she reached it, she paused briefly, then pulled out a stack of credits and placed it on the cluttered table by the door. Before Su Chen could react, she had already pushed open the door and left. Only a light, fleeting remark echoed in the corridor. Spend some money to renovate the shop. It looks like a kennel. The door closed. The workshop fell into silence. Only a faint, lingering fragrance remained. TCH. What an attitude. Su Chen looked around his post-apocalyptic-styled shop, peeling paint on the ceiling, aging fluorescent lights flickering and swaying unsteadily. But none of this affected his disdain for Queen's comment. A mountain's fame doesn't depend on its height, but on its spirit. My humble dwelling has my virtue. What the hell does she know? Meow. Master, what does that saying mean? Xingming came closer, her cat ears perking up curiously. The scent of her shower gel mixed with a unique toffee fragrance instantly dispelled the lingering perfume Queen had left behind. It means good steel should be used for the blade. Su Chen counted the 3 stacks of bills Queen had left, a full 4,000 credits. Adding the prize money from the race, he had a total of 7,000. The quarterly rent for the modification shop was 8,000. This money was enough to pay 2 years' rent. But he didn't plan to do that. He would only keep 8,000 for the rent and use the rest to upgrade Xingming. Here, Xingming, this is for you. Su Chen counted out 50 credit notes and stuffed them into Xingming's hand. You worked hard in the Binzhou underground race. This is your allowance. Buy whatever you want. Xingming stared blankly at the money in her hand, her cat, tail, even stopping its wag. Master, you don't need to give me money. Just take it. Go buy whatever flavor of nutrient fluid you like. Su Chen was rich, now waving his hand with great generosity. But Xingming bit her red lip, her voice as faint as a mosquito's whine. Can a mecha girl like me really have an allowance? Why couldn't you? Su Chen raised an eyebrow. We have a bond contract. So what if I give you some pocket money? Besides, you're a crank mecha girl now. You can even throw your weight around among the newbies. Xingming was amused by Su Chen's words. She puffed out her cheeks. Master, I'm not a big crab. Her eyes darted, her cat ears twitched, and she accepted the 5,000 credits, rubbing her hands together like a little miser. Hee, I'm rich. Her tail wagged furiously. Master, want to go shopping together later? Sure, Su Chen nodded. This world had shopping malls specifically for mecha girls and their pilots, accessible only to pilots with a mecha girl driver's license and their mecha girls. He happened to need to buy a batch of materials for making modification cores. He might find them in the shopping mall. Now that Xingming had 1-star Radiant Stigmata slot, he hadn't yet looked into the information and prices of Star Radiant Stigmata. If the price was right, he would pick another Star Radiant Stigmata for Xingming. The city championship was approaching, and he had to do his best to enhance Xingming's performance. This race was an open tournament, an authoritative event hosted by the officials. The participants in the city championship were either top dogs from the underground racing scene or professional racers from clubs. He and Xingming had already struggled a bit running the Binzhou City underground race. The city championship would be an even more severe challenge for them both. The headquarters of the Knights Echo. Crystal chandeliers cast a cold, pale light, and the Italian leather sofas exuded an air of opulence. The entire hall was like a meticulously polished diamond. Perfect, luxurious, yet utterly devoid of warmth. Queen, where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. None of your damn business. Queen rolled her eyes at the middle-aged. She now had a month of absolute freedom. She could go wherever she pleased with no need to report to the suited woman. I was just worried about you. The middle-aged woman didn't take offense. Instead, she smiled warmly. As long as Queen was back, even a scold, but she knew Queen wasn't so crude. This beautiful, delicate mech girl specialized in sarcasm and innuendo. Queen walked over to the sofa and sat down, her soft, delicate frame sinking into the plush backrest. She was as languid as a dozing cat. She glanced at the middle-aged woman and said flatly, Jessica, what's the next modification plan for me? Let me see it. Jessica's eyes lit up at the words. All right, I'll get it right away. After a moment, she returned with a document and handed it to Queen. Queen flipped through it briefly, her brow. The Knights Echo headquarters was developing the Whirlwind Emperor 4 modification core, also focused on cornering and stability, intended to replace her Whirlwind Emperor 3. At the same time, they were to replace her Star Mark, swapping out the original combination of the Wild Hunt 3-piece set and the Eternal Heart Fragment for a combination of the Round Table Knight 2-piece set and the Angel's Heart 2-piece set. The latter 22 combination leaned more towards an all-around enhancement. It wasn't as concentrated on acceleration and burst power as the Wild Hunt 3-piece set. Theoretically, both the Whirlwind Emperor 4 and the 22 set were better than her current modifications, but Queen felt a nagging discomfort. A faint voice in her heart whispered that these seemingly excellent modifications weren't what she wanted. What she craved was speed, extreme burst, not some jack-of-all trades. What do you think, Queen? Jessica asked, her eyes full of hope. This is a tailor-made modification plan from the headquarters. It will definitely restore you completely. Not good, Queen shook her head. The modification core should focus on enhancing speed and burst. Submit an application for me. Jessica's expression shifted slightly at the words. Queen, I'm afraid that won't be possible. Why? Queen's crimson eyes narrowed, chilling the air around them. The headquarters modification plan is to enhance your performance in all aspects. Otherwise, you won't be qualified to become the lattice mech girl. The lady is now in class pilot and her requirements for a mech girl are to be formidable in every area. And if you keep failing to meet the requirements, you won't be able to appear on the track. Being barred from the track was a severe punishment for a mech girl. Queen couldn't remember how she had joined the Knights Echo. But Knights Echo was the largest and most renowned club in Rongwang province, and most mech girls wouldn't refuse it. Which mech girl didn't wish to follow a skilled pilot in the future? And the Knights Echo headquarters was filled with pilots who possessed both technique and skill. You will fix me, won't you? Queen emerged from her confusion, her gaze fixed intently on the middle-aged woman. Of course, Jessica nodded. All the modification plans currently formulated by the headquarters are aimed at repairing you and getting you running again. The modification experts have analyzed that the reason you can't start is that your core can't drive your current performance. So we need to continue improving your stability and endurance. Queen was silent for a moment. She truly felt her stability and endurance were already sufficient. The inability to start was definitely not a problem of stability or endurance. But saying this was useless. Those modification experts only cared about data. All right, she replied flatly. I understand. So you agree to the new modification plan? Jessica asked, delighted. Queen looked at the middle-aged woman before her deep impatience hidden in her eyes. The Knights Echo didn't respect any of her opinions, yet insisted on going through the motions of seeking her consent. As if she was fond of these modification plans. But what would it matter if she didn't agree? She couldn't start. She would remain trapped here like a bird in a cage. I agree, she said, her voice utterly devoid of emotion. But this month, I'll arrange my own schedule. Absolutely no problem. Jessica sighed with relief. As long as she agreed, her bonus would be secured. I want tickets to the city championship. Queen held up one finger. A trivial matter, I'll get them for you. The best VIP seats. Jessica agreed readily. Change the wallpaper in my bedroom to pink. Buy me a game console. And a life-sized panda plushie. Sure. I'll have it arranged immediately. Jessica noted down Queen's requests on her phone. Any other demands? No. Queen closed her eyes, sinking deeper into the sofa. She had originally wanted Jessica to look into Su Chen and Xing Ming's information. But then she thought it might cause trouble for Su Chen and Xing Ming. Initially, she was merely curious about Su Chen, as it was rare for a modifier to also be a pilot. Yet the various suggestions Su Chen had made earlier made her realize that he seemed to understand her better than the modification team at Knights Echo headquarters. She wanted to see how far Su Chen and Xing Ming could go. Could a seagull in a raging storm truly live better than a canary? Once she became Su Chen's mech girl, Xing Ming naturally had to live in the modification shop. Su Chen specially prepared a room for Xing Ming. He had expected a girl to have a lot of luggage. But all she had was a small cat-shaped piggy bank and a cat print cushion. Annoyed, Su Chen directly told Xing Ming to sleep in his bed and asked for him. Of course he would sleep with Xing Ming. The sofa was outside. It would be too cold at night. Sleeping on the floor was out of the question. He wasn't that much of a gentleman, nor would he put himself out. Besides, the bed was big enough. They could draw a line down the middle, one at the head and the other at the foot. He didn't plan on doing anything. And this was just a temporary arrangement. The next morning, Su Chen led Xing Ming to the hypermarket. Welcome to Star God Happy Mart. Star God Happy Mart, a large-scale store dedicated to pilots and mech girls. Here one could buy almost all the resources a pilot or mech girl needed. The prerequisite was that you had money, and some precious resources were only available through barter. It was a futuristic hemispherical building somewhat reminiscent of the Sydney Opera House. It was unclear what material the building used, as all sides seemed to be glass walls, yet they didn't reflect the glaring, scorching sunlight like glass would. The light here was soft. The temperature was perfectly pleasant. The legs of the logistics mech girl at the entrance were as white as snow. Su Chen stared intensely at the logistics mech girl's legs. It wasn't that he was lecherous, he was mainly curious if her boots made her feet hot in such weather. Mech girls probably didn't have foot odor, at least he hadn't smelled any on Xing Ming's feet. After presenting the mech girl driver's license, Su Chen led Xing Ming into the store. The first thing they saw was a promotional display for new mech girl nutrient fluids. Pearl milk tea flavor, cherry blossom wine flavor, cappuccino flavor. A dazzling array of nutrient fluids in various flavors left Su Chen and Xing Ming's eyes wide with wonder. Sir, would you like to try the new flavors? The new flavors might suit your mech girl and could enhance the synchronization between you and her. A logistics mech girl in a maid dress approached them, a sweet, yet capitalistic smile on her face. She held a can of nutrient fluid. It was a plum and bitter gourd flavor. To be honest, Su Chen's face immediately darkened at the sight of these flavors. Plum, sour to the point of being unbearable. Bitter gourd, undeniably bitter. Sour and bitter. What kind of joke is this? If you can't develop new flavors, then just don't bother. Would any mecha girl actually want to drink ginger, garlic, durian, or chili flavors? The same logic applied to the plum and bitter gourd flavor. He shook his head, and was about to take Xingming's hand and walk away only to find his own mecha girl staring longingly at that can of nutrient fluid, her pink tongue subtly licking her lips. She seemed to want a taste. This thought crossed Su Chen's mind. Nutrient fluid, as the most basic energy supply resource for mecha girls, was not expensive. Common fruit flavors cost around 500 yuan, while some rare flavors could reach 800 to 1,000 yuan. Unsold ones would be discounted. Plum and bitter gourd was clearly a mediocre flavor. As a new product with a 20 discount, it was priced at 400 yuan. Want to give it a try? Su Chen asked Xingming. Xingming quickly averted her gaze, shaking her head like a rattle drum. No need, meow. My energy is still full right now. Oh, I don't need to replenish with nutrient fluid. Xingming recalled the first time she came to Huilego with Wang Tingting. It was the same booth, the same new product. She had only glanced over, and Wang Tingting had pulled her away. You want a taste? Are you worthy? 400 yuan isn't money. Just drink that discounted ginger and chili flavor. It's just for energy supply, the flavor doesn't matter. Wang Tingting's harsh face was still vivid before her eyes. So her first reaction was to shake her head. But you really seem to want to drink it, Su Chen said to the logistics mecha girl. Give me one bottle, and also one of that cappuccino flavor. They both seem to be new products. Yes, sir. You are so kind to your mecha girl. The logistics mecha girl's smile grew even sweeter. She could tell that Xingming's energy was fully charged. Yet, even so, the pilot was still willing to spend money, even if it was just to let his mecha girl have a taste. This could only mean two things. Either this pilot had plenty of money, or he doted on his mecha girl immensely. Before Xingming could react, she already had 2 bottles of nutrient fluid in her hands. One was packaged in red and green, printed with plums and bitter gourd. The other was a coffee-colored package labeled cappuccino. This, Master, don't waste your money. You work hard to earn it, let's return them. Her ears drooped as she mumbled, trying to put the nutrient fluids back, but Su Chen stopped her. Am I the master, or are you? He pressed his hand on Xingming's fluffy little head, pretending to be fierce. Are you trying to teach me what to do? No, I wouldn't dare, meow. Xingming shrank her neck, her ears flattening into airplane mode. Then drink. Xingming obediently took a sip of both nutrient fluids. She sipped them in small amounts, her cheeks slightly puffed out like a greedy little hamster. How is it? Delicious, meow. Xingming licked her lips, her big eyes narrowing into crescent moons, her tail swaying gently behind her. Which one do you prefer? I prefer. Xingming tilted her head and thought, her cat ears twitching lightly. Plum and bitter gourd, meow. This answer surprised Su Chen. Could it be that this plum and bitter gourd had some hidden secret? Why? Because. Xingming paused, her big eyes looking earnestly at Su Chen. It's like meeting master. She didn't seem skilled at saying such things. As soon as she finished, a faint blush crept across her face and the tips of her ears tinged with a rosy hue. What? You mean I'm both bitter and sour? Su Chen rolled his eyes. He only knew that plum and bitter gourd must be tart and astringent. Yet he didn't know it left a sweet aftertaste to Xingming that was the taste of happiness. Xingming giggled without explanation. She gently tugged at Su Chen's sleeve, hopping along beside him, humming a cheerful, nonsensical tune. The Star God Huilego Mall was quite large, with a full 6 floors comparable to the Wada Gacha of her past life. Car skins, modification cores, nutrient fluids, race tickets, and various equipment were the main offerings. Despite the temptations everywhere, Su Chen didn't forget his 2 goals for this trip: the Star Radiance mark and modification materials. Master. Xingming's footsteps suddenly stopped in front of a shop selling car skins and racing suits. She tugged at Su Chen's sleeve, blinking her big eyes. Master, I want to go in and look around, okay? Su Chen glanced at the storefront. It was probably similar to clothing stores from his past life. Indeed, even fantasy biological mecha girls were still girls at heart, and no girl didn't love beauty. He immediately nodded. Go ahead, go ahead. We'll meet later at. Su Chen looked around and pointed to the statue in the center of Huilego Square. We'll gather there later. Okay, meow. Su Chen watched Xingming walk into the shop while he headed toward the store selling Star Radiance marks. Inside the clothing shop, many mecha girls were choosing car skins accompanied by their pilots. Car skins were equivalent to clothing for mecha girls, a type of regenerable equipment. Without a car skin, a mecha girl's regeneration outfit was the birthday suit they were born with, and with a modification core, it would be affected by it. For example, if a modification core added a black front lip to the mecha girl in humanoid form, it might manifest as more black fabric on the front chest area of the dress. Xingming glanced at the car skin display case, then, without a moment's hesitation, turned and went to the racing suit. Racing suits were professional uniforms worn by pilots during races, incorporating many Star God technologies, such as heat insulation, warmth retention, one-click, or one-click removal, and so on. Some multifunctional racing suits from major brands could even cost more than mecha girl car skins. Xingming stood before the racing suit display case, her small hands gliding over each suit. The various racing suits before her dazzled her eyes, but she knew exactly what she was looking for. During last night's race, Su Chen had worn a very old cycling jersey. That wasn't a proper racing suit at all, as she wanted to buy Master a good one. It needs many functions, and it should be fitted and good-looking when worn. She mumbled to herself, her ears twitching slightly. Can't be too expensive, and I can't afford it. But it can't be too cheap either, meow. She ran to a corner, smashed open her little cat-shaped piggy bank, and counted the Zhuan yuan inside. Part of it was the small savings she had accumulated while with Wang Tingting, and the bulk was the pocket money Su Chen had given her last night. A total of 5,200 Zhuan yuan. The extra 200 Zhuan yuan had almost all been money Wang Tingting gave her to buy nutrient fluid. Besides the discounted weird-flavored nutrient fluid, there was an even cheaper watered-down version, and that 200 Zhuan yuan was saved bit by bit from that. 5,200 Zhuan yuan. Should be enough to buy a mid-quality racing suit, meow. Xing Ming darted back and forth in front of the display cases, carefully examining the tags and feature descriptions of each racing suit. Occasionally she would nod or shake her head slightly, her tail swaying gently with the rhythm of her thoughts. This one has good heat insulation, but no one-click wear and removal function, meow. This one looks cool, but the price is way too expensive, meow. This one, all black, doesn't quite match Master's vibe. Finally, a silver-white racing suit with blue patterns caught her attention. Xing Ming's eyes lit up, and she took it down to examine it closely. This one suits Master perfectly. She stroked the fabric, talking to herself. Medium heat insulation, one-click wear, and removal function, basic protective layer, and it looks really handsome, meow. And it's the same color as Xing Ming's original car skin. She looked at the price tag, 50.99 Zhuan yuan, almost all her savings. Having lived frugally, Xing Ming hesitated for a moment, but quickly nodded firmly. It's okay, meow. Master is always so good to me. This is the first time Xing Ming can buy something for Master, so I must get the one that suits Master best. A mecha girl's eyes were as precise as measuring instruments. Xing Ming effortlessly found the size that fits Su Chen best, then hugged the racing suit and pitter-pattered to the cash register. I want this racing suit, meow. Check out, meow. The logistics mecha girl at the counter smiled and nodded. You have great taste. There aren't many left of this item. It's a hot seller here. That will be 5,099 Zhuan yuan. Xing Ming paid, and the logistics mecha girl packed the racing suit, unable to resist asking, "Is this for your pilot?" "Yes, meow." Xing Ming took the bag, nodded happily, her fluffy cat ears gently twitching. Master is always good to me, so I should be even better to Master. This is the first gift I've ever given Master. Meanwhile, on the other side, Su Chen entered a store specializing in star radiance marks. He thought he was a bit well off now, but he was still taken aback by the prices of star radiance marks. Like modification core, star radiance marks were divided into 7 grades: white, green, blue, purple, gold, platinum, and diamond. The cheapest were the white star radiance marks, generally priced between 20,000 and 50,000. Complete sets of star radiance marks were even more expensive, doubling the price of 2 individual white star radiance marks. Who the hell could afford that? Time to bail. Sir, are you here to buy a star radiance mark for your mecha girl? Just as Su Chen was about to leave the store, a logistics mecha girl eagerly approached him. She looked him up and down, a smirk curling at her lips. I can tell this is your first time buying a star radiance mark. You might not know much about them or which one suits your mecha girl. We happen to have a promotion in the store today. How about I explain it to you while you consider whether to take part in our promotion? Oh, Su Chen narrowed his eyes. An explanation? A promotional event? Huh, was she trying to brainwash him? Back in his day, he had weathered many battles in tour groups. He wanted to show the brainwashing culture of this world what it meant to be utterly impervious. He didn't leave. Instead, he found a chair and sat down, eyeing the logistics mecha girl sideways. What are you standing there for? Pour me a glass of water. The logistics mecha girl poured a glass of cola for Su Chen. He took a sip and glanced around. The shop was quite spacious, with no shortage of logistics mecha girls, almost all operating in an unknown manner. The logistics mecha girl before him had clearly set her sights on him. Sir, do you know how the Starlight Stigmata came to be? Su Chen shook his head. The logistics mecha girl pondered for a moment and said, many years ago the star god world was repeatedly invaded by extraterrestrial beings. To ensure our vigilance in times of peace, the star gods created numerous nebula realms. Within these nebula realms, various historical crises are reenacted where pilots and mecha girls assume certain roles. Successfully clearing a nebula realm grants the blessing of the star gods. This blessing is the Starlight Stigmata. Sounds like a special material dungeon. Su Chen remarked in surprise. Dungeon? What's that? The logistics mecha girl tilted her head. Nothing. Su Chen waved his hand. So what about those extraterrestrial beings? Are they still invading the star god world? Not anymore. They were all eradicated by the star gods. That was good news. Su Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Though this world was clearly not low martial, at least it was free from such wars. I'm quite interested in the star gods, Su Chen said. But I've only just become a mecha girl pilot, and my understanding is merely superficial. Could you? Of course. The logistics mecha girl nodded. The star gods are not one person but 4, specifically 1 pilot and 3 mecha girls. If I must specify, the star god refers to one particular mecha girl named after the stars. Her grace still envelopes the entire star god world, while all the systematic piloting techniques of this world were left by the star god's pilot. To put it bluntly, without the 4 star gods, there would be no star god world today. Mecha girls are also born from the sea of star gods. Su Chen understood instantly. These 4 were essentially creator gods, if not the primordial deities, then those who ushered in a new era. So are these 4 still in the star god world? No, the logistics mecha girl's expression turned devout. She clasped her hands in prayer and said softly, "Do you know why no enemy has dared to invade the star god world since? It's because the star gods are traversing the endless cosmos. They sacrificed themselves, perhaps never to return home, yet they annihilated all enemies of the star god world, shielding it behind them. That's truly noble." Su Chen disliked extreme heroism, but the 4 star gods sacrificing themselves for the greater good was an exception. There is no peaceful time without someone bearing the burden. The weight of that saying only grew. "So, sir," the logistics mecha girl's eyes sparkled as she leaned in excitedly. "Purchasing the Starlight Stigmata is supporting the cause of the star gods. Our shop is having a promotion today. I know you're short on funds, but pulling a blind box doesn't require much money. If you hit the jackpot, you'll be making a killing." Su Chen leaned back. The logistics mecha girl was too close. Men and women should keep their distance, and besides, she wasn't as cute as Xingming. "TCH, don't listen to her hype." A frivolous voice rang out nearby. "The real way to support the star gods is to actively participate in Nebula Realms and collect Omega or Starlight Stigmata is just a bonus reward." Roar. Who's ruining my business? The moment the words fell, Su Chen saw the once gentle logistics mecha girl instantly burst out of her clothes. From a petite 1.6-meter cutie, she transformed into a muscular, ferocious 1.9-meter harridan. Her vicious gaze swept toward the speaker like knives, but upon seeing him, her fury morphed into mockery and disdain. "Oh, if it isn't Mr. Unlucky Yuming. Here for another blind box. Don't sour grapes when you can't get what you... After all, not every pilot is as unlucky as you. Spending over 300,000 yuan on blind boxes without a single Starlight Stigmata." Yuming, standing by the capsule machine, turned pale, while his mecha girl Zhuajing covered her mouth with a snicker. "Shut up." Yuming pointed at the logistics mecha girl, his neck stiff. "I spent 300,000 yuan here today. Even if I get nothing, I'm still a customer. Understand?" "Oh, not really." The logistics mecha girl shrank back to her 1.6-meter form, her car suit auto-repairing. She picked at her nails languidly. "What about 300,000 yuan? Here, customers who haven't spent a dime are gods, those who have are the lowest of the low." That was the honest truth, as no one would ever think of playing that cursed capsule machine twice. Yuming had simply lost his head. "I want to file a complaint. Complaint hotline 825111. I can dial it for you." The logistics mecha girl remained unmoved. Yuming's mouth twitched. Taking a deep breath, he finally gave up on confronting her. The logistics mecha girl, clearly aware the deal was off, abandoned Su Chen and walked away, her attitude a stark contrast to before. Yuming approached with Zhuajing, the handsome man in a black jacket, smiling. "We meet again. Dark horse." Su Chen stared at Yuming for a moment, a flicker of confusion on his face. "You?" Yuming's outstretched hand froze midair. Zhuajing puffed. Su Chen, the top racing car modifier on Earth, had a flaw: face blindness. Unless someone was frequently around him, he wouldn't recognize them the next day. "Oh, I remember now, you're from the Northern Wolf team." With Yuming's prompting, Su Chen suddenly realized. "Sandbagging dog." "Yuming." "I didn't want to sandbag either, it was just my mission." Yuming shrugged with a sigh. "I gave you a 40-second head start, yet first place still went to me and Zhuajing. What could I do?" Su Chen looked at Zhuajing, various attributes flashing before his eyes. She was quite impressive, but still far. "Su Chen, you're driving a class car, right?" Yuming shrugged. "So what? I still gave you 40 seconds. But you're driving a class car. Mecha girl performance isn't everything, but it's all about skill, got it? You're driving a class car. Arg. Can you stop harping on that? Class car. Yuming you. Su Chen B. Yuming I. Su Chen sandbagging dog. Yuming." The conversation was dead in the water. He had wanted to befriend Su Chen, impressed by his skills. Su Chen seemed like a freelance racer, and Yuming thought of inviting him to join Northern Wolf. He assumed there would be some mutual respect between tech-savvy racers, but they couldn't even talk. Still, as a professional racer, he wouldn't stoop to a freelancer's level. Yuming took a deep breath and forced a smile. "Buddy, your mecha girl must be upgraded to class, right? Class has stigmata slots. You're probably here for one. I've got an extra capsule coin. Take it." Su Chen's eyes lit up at the capsule coin. What a kind soul. Having just learned a capsule coin costs 2,000. "Why don't you use it yourself?" he asked. Yuming handed him the coin with a bitter smile. "I've already spent 300,000 yuan. I'm afraid if I pull another thanks for playing, I'll lose my head again. Let it end here. Take it." Su Chen took the coin, eyeing Yuming. "If I get something good, you want to ask for it back, will..." "No, don't worry." Yuming laughed dryly, unconcerned. I'm still a member of Northern Wolf's T2 team. I have some pride. What's given is yours, no one can say otherwise. Besides, this capsule event is a scam. I doubt you'll get anything good. Fair enough. Su Chen nodded. He turned and walked to the capsule machine. It had 10 compartments, each with a coin slot. Each compartment held 30 capsules, making the draw incredibly difficult, as one couldn't even tell which compartment held the prize. However, just moments ago, when his divine eye activated to read Zuijing's attributes, Su Chen noticed faint floating text above each compartment. He had thought it was flies or mosquitoes, but upon closer inspection it revealed the rewards in each compartment. In other words, he could clearly see which compartments had prizes and which didn't. Su Chen blinked, the corner of his mouth lifting. Interesting. Su Chen originally thought that the Eye of God was merely for observing the performance of the mech girl. Now he somewhat understands that the Eye of God can also see through illusions. So he raised the question. If seeing through clothes is also seeing through illusions, why doesn't it let him see through the white fabric? Could it be that this world also possesses the power of the divine river? Su Chen steadied himself and walked past 10 capsule machine doors, finally stopping in front of the second to last door. Yu Ming said that this capsule event is indeed a scam, and he was not wrong. Only one of the 10 doors contains a reward with the Starshine Holy Mark. The capsule is guaranteed, but 99% of the rewards are high-energy nutrient solutions, and the slightly more valuable ones are just ordinary car covers and racing suits. However, this store does not skimp on rewards. Su Chen looked up at the banner on the capsule machine. Anniversary Grand Sale, 20 off for the first 10 capsule coins with the chance to win the ultimate purple Starshine Holy Mark reward. Let luck descend upon you. In front of him, this door contained a piece of purple Starshine Holy Mark, which was also the ultimate gimmick of this promotional event. At this moment, there were still drivers with mech girls drawing blind boxes in front of the door. Every time a blind box was drawn, the funnel-shaped machine above the door would replenish a new blind box. This means that the chance of drawing the purple Starshine Holy Mark is always 1 in 300. Isn't this a scam? There's not even a guaranteed draw. Su Chen stood in front of the door and observed for a while. This capsule machine is somewhat similar to a claw machine. After inserting a coin, he could control the mechanical claw to grab a blind box. Fortunately, the store hadn't gone too crazy yet, because from what he could see, the mechanical claw would grasp the blind box and not suddenly release it when lifting. Currently, the purple Holy Mark was compressed beneath some blind boxes. If he wanted to obtain it, he first had to clear the boxes on top. Having a basic understanding, Su Chen inserted a coin and began operating. Not far away, Yu Ming sighed in relief. Finally, the sin has been released. I will never come to this store to draw blind boxes again. It's such a scam. Chasing Shadow let out a TCH. This was not the first time Yu Ming had said something like this. After every competition, it was as if he would die if he didn't draw blind boxes. She looked at Su Chen's serious expression and couldn't help but ask, Master, do you think Su Chen will draw something? Yu Ming glanced at Su Chen and laughed. How could that be? I drew 300,000 yuan worth of nothing. If he can draw something good in one go, he'll drink all the nutrient solutions I pulled out. 300,000 yuan. All in nutrient solutions stacked like mountains behind him. While the two were talking, Su Chen had already pulled out the first blind box. Although Yu Ming said that he couldn't help but tiptoe to look, and then saw Su Chen open a bottle of nutrient solution, spicy chili flavor. Huh. I told you, so. Yu Ming showed a knowing smile. He thought Su Chen would give up at this point. After all, looking at Su Chen's attire, he didn't seem like a wealthy person. As a new racer, those with money usually save up to buy modification cores and wouldn't waste it. But the next second, he saw Su Chen walk toward the exchange machine and clink, exchange for 10 capsule coins. Wait, bro. Yu Ming was taken aback and hurried over to dissuade Su Chen. Brother, making money is hard. This promotional event is a trap. Don't get carried away. Su Chen nodded. Don't worry, I won't get carried away. Yu Ming pursed his lips, thinking that Su Chen might just want to indulge in 10 consecutive draws. That would be acceptable. The loss was still within tolerable limits. Su Chen returned to the second door and calmly drew 10 times again. Without a doubt, it was all nutrient solutions. At the same time, he also discovered a problem. Every time he grabbed the blind box on top, the machine would spit out a new blind box. The new blind box had a chance to cover the one above, leading to double the workload. The originally planned 10 draws were simply insufficient. So he turned around to exchange for another 10 capsule coins, only to find Yu Ming and Chasing Shadow blocking the exchange machine on either side. You can't do this. Don't get carried away. Yu Ming said earnestly, didn't you just say you wouldn't draw? Listen to Su Chen walked up to the exchange machine, turning left and right, while Yu Ming and Chasing Shadow followed suit, guarding it like basketball stars. He was speechless. This person had good intentions, but why was he so meddlesome? Stop it, Yu Ming said with a pained expression. Don't be so stubborn. Dear guest, if the exchange machine isn't working, you can also come to me for an exchange. The logistics mech girl who had left earlier suddenly appeared cheerfully in front of Su Chen, holding a basket full of capsule coins. Thank you for your quality of service. Su Chen gave a thumbs up in exchange for 20 capsule coins. The smile on the logistics mech girl's face grew wider. Performance. It's all about performance. Wow, he really has become obsessed. Yu Ming covered his face and sighed. So master, seeing him, you should understand how frustrated I was earlier, right? Chasing Shadow crossed her arms and glared at Yu Ming. 300,000 yuan. Although it was nothing compared to the modification fees, she needed those fees had to be saved little by little. I understand very well now. Those involved are often confused while those observing see clearly. He was now stepping into chasing Shadow's perspective and was starting to get angry. Su Chen quickly drew, spending 20 coins, and finally the blind box containing the purple holy mark came to the very top. Moreover, the newly replenished blind box also landed beside it. This means in the last draw he could obtain the purple holy mark. He looked at the logistics mech girl, and she immediately understood, walking over to hand him the basket. Brother, you're still drawing. Yu Ming was truly angry, grabbing Su Chen's hand that was reaching for money. He had also come from being a new racer. Although he seemed wealthy now, he had also endured hardships for a long time. He knew that every penny in the initial stages was crucial, and wasting it on blind boxes was highly inadvisable. Think of your mech girl, think of your future. You could use this money to elevate your mech girl. He doesn't know why Su Chen's mech girl isn't by his side, but he still tilted his head towards outside the store. Your mech girl is still waiting for you. Hey, if you keep this up, I'll have to kick you out. The logistics mech girl placed her hands on her hips, angrily saying, Mr. Yu Ming, your current behavior is obstructing our work. I will call the enforcement team. Whether to consume is their freedom, and what if they draw a grand prize? Isn't your behavior cutting off someone's financial path? Yu Ming laughed in anger. You don't even know if they can draw your grand prize. I've already spent 300,000. That's your misfortune. The logistics mech girl clicked her tongue. Su Chen looked at the logistics mech girl and then at Yu Ming. Actually, everyone was fine, just having different stances. Yu Ming felt that the money spent wasn't worth it, while the logistics mech girl believed that his gambler's mentality deserved to die. However, I'll just draw one last time. Su Chen smiled gently and said to both Yu Ming and the logistics mech girl, what if I draw the grand prize on the last go? Yu Ming smiled wryly. Brother, you. Sci-fi, do as you wish. Exactly. The logistics mech girl clapped her hands repeatedly, fawning. Sir, you look like the very lucky Is that so? Su Chen smirked. If I draw the grand prize, you won't deduct your salary, right? The logistics mech girl's face stiffened for a moment, then shook her head. How could that be? That's your luck. What does it have to do with me? All right. Su Chen nodded and inserted the capsule coins. The mechanical arm under his control precisely grabbed the blind box containing the purple holy mark. The metal claw did not deliberately open. With a thud, the blind box fell into the hole. Su Chen bent down to pick up the blind box and then opened it in front of the logistics mech girl and Yu Ming. Inside, the platinum paper wrapped a box that looked about the same size as the nutrient solution box. Upon opening the box, a hazy purple light first caught his eye. He saw a piece of metal shaped like a computer memory stick encased in a purple crystal shell quietly lying in the center of the box. Starshine Holy Mark Emperor Engine Purple Crystal. Such information floated in Su Chen's retina. The violet radiance nearly flooded the entire hall. All eyes instinctively turned toward it. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Yu Ming's eyes bulged as he pointed at the sacred mark in Su Chen's hand, stammering for a long moment before managing. Bro, what the hell are you doing with that potion? Are you trying to scare me to death? Beside him, Zhuijing was similarly dumbfounded. The logistics mech girl froze as if turned to stone. Someone hit the jackpot, someone shouted. In an instant, all the pilots and mech girls in the store swarmed over. Everyone stared at the violet sacred mark in Su Chen's hand, eyes gleaming, but soon envy and jealousy set in. I've spent 70 or 80,000 and still haven't gotten one. How did he? Someone cried out in frustration. I can't take it. Why isn't it me? Another wailed. Bro, are you selling that violet sacred mark? Price is negotiable. Someone had already set their sights on the sacred mark, sidling up to Su Chen. You want to buy it? Su Chen raised an eyebrow. He knew that with the help of the Eye of God, he could win every time. If this violet sacred mark could fetch a good price, he could use the money to try again. And there would likely be plenty left over for Xingming's modifications. Still, the attribute boost from this violet sacred mark was truly tempting. Su Chen gazed at the 12-speed attribute listed under Starlight, Sacred Mark Emperor Engine Amethyst, and couldn't help but marvel. Unlike modification cores, sacred marks had no negative enhancements. However, a single sacred mark seemed to offer only basic attribute boosts. Only when collected in sets did they grant percentage bonuses and special effects. He had no idea what the 4-piece or even 5-piece set bonus of Emperor Engine was, but it was surely extraordinary. He'll buy it. He'll offer 1 million transfer yuan. The man exclaimed, overjoyed at Su Chen's apparent willingness to sell. Su Chen's eyes lit up. 1 million transfer yuan. A fortune, but the price was definitely worth more than that. Just as he was considering a counteroffer, the pilot was shoved aside. Buy your ass. Yu Ming shouted angrily at the pilot. 1 million transfer yuan for a violet sacred mark. Dream on. Get lost. Hey, what's your problem? It's none of your business if he sells it. Ignoring the cursing pilot, Yuming pulled Su Chen aside and said seriously, bro, listen to me. Don't sell it. Don't sell it to anyone unless they offer 70 or 80 million or more. Su Chen looked at Yuming and suddenly asked, then would you buy it? Yuming froze, then gave a bitter smile. I can't afford it. Is it really that precious? Su Chen didn't. The violet sacred mark only boosted speed by 10 points even if it had no negative effects. But he had casually crafted a white modification core that added 5 points to speed. At worst, he could use better materials to craft advanced cores. Surely a violet or red modification core would provide a greater boost than a single violet sacred mark. Bro, let me explain. A single violet sacred mark might not seem impressive, but once you complete the set, it becomes powerful. Yuming pointed at the crowd. Do you know why this Wild Mart in a small city like Binzhou is so popular? Many people come here just for this sacred mark. Before you and me, countless others have tried and gone bankrupt, but only you have drawn it. But Su Chen still didn't get it. No buts. Yuming grabbed Su Chen's shoulders and stared into his eyes. Do you know about the Nebula Secret Realm? Su Chen nodded. The logistics mech girl had already explained it to him. It was a material dungeon. Yuming continued, if you enter the Nebula Secret Realm with a violet-level sacred mark, you'll likely experience the story of an important character. After completing the Nebula Secret Realm, you'll also have a high chance of obtaining a similar sacred mark. So a violet sacred mark isn't just about its grade, it's a key. A key that makes it easier for you to complete a full set while others can only rely on luck. Su Chen finally, in that case, he really couldn't sell it. First, he didn't know the specifics of the Nebula Secret Realm, but the drop rate for violet sacred marks was probably very low. After all, Queen and S-level mech girl with a background only had the blue Wild Hunt 3-piece set and a single violet Eternal Heart piece. All things considered, a violet sacred mark was undoubtedly extremely valuable, and it was the kind that was hard to find on the market. If luck was bad, one might never obtain a violet sacred mark in a lifetime. Su Chen didn't consider himself a very lucky person. Otherwise, why would a fully insured semi-truck have to hit him on such a wide highway? He was a pretty good driver, but even he couldn't dodge that clumsy semi. It was like it had a homing missile. I understand. I won't sell it, Su Chen said sincerely. Thank you for telling me so much. I'm glad you. Yuming sighed in relief and smiled. So do you have a better impression of me now? Yes, it's been completely Oh, do tell. You're a good. Su Chen paused, hearted explosive fish. Yuming. He regretted everything. He should have let Su Chen sell that violet sacred mark for $1 million. Sir, I'm sorry to bother you. The logistics mech girl approached with a forced smile. Could you please sell this violet sacred mark to us? Rest assured the price will definitely satisfy you. Good heavens. The logistics mech girl was nearly in tears. This violet sacred mark was the shop owner's treasure put out only as a gimmick. They never thought anyone would actually win it. Su Chen pondered for a moment and asked seriously, if I don't sell it, will you get your wages docked? Yes, the logistics mech girl's smile grew more strained. She clasped her hands together. Please give me a chance. Su Chen grinned slyly. Then I won't sell. The logistics mech girl. Are you sure? She clenched her fists, grinding her teeth, glaring at him. Su Chen took a half step back and hugged the violet sacred mark to his chest. What was this logistics mech girl trying to do? Was she going to attack him? Thinking of a mech girl's monstrous strength, Su Chen's heart raced, but he remained firm. I'm sure. Fine. Very well. The logistics mech girl took a few deep breaths, then suddenly pulled a tablet from her skirt, snapped a photo of Su Chen, and tapped away on it. Su Chen asked, puzzled, What are you doing? What am I doing? The logistics mech girl curled her lip into a cold sneer, pointing at Su Chen. You're doomed. She lifted her chin as haughty as a queen reading a death sentence to a condemned prisoner. I've added you to the blacklist of all Wild Mart gotcha machines nationwide. From today onward, you will never gotcha again. Ha ha. Suffer. Wail. Tremble. Su Chen. A blessing in disguise. Maybe not getting addicted to gambling was a good thing, as long as they didn't forcibly reclaim his prize. I'm sorry. Suddenly a commotion arose outside the crowd. A soft feminine voice was apologizing frantically. Su Chen frowned. That sounded like Xingming's voice. Su Chen followed the sound. Outside the shop, Xingming was timidly apologizing to a youth clad in racing gear. Her furry cat ears pressed nervously against her head and her tail tucked anxiously between her legs. Beside the youth stood a mecha girl with a cold, stern expression. Neither of them looked pleased. Are you blind? Don't you watch where you're going? The youth's tone was scathing as he looked down on Xingming. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but swallowed her words. Her cat ears drooped in distress, her sapphire eyes fixed on her toes as she murmured softly, I'm sorry. Carefully, she held out a pristine white box with both hands. A faint blue glow seeped through the box's seams. It was obvious that inside lay the starry radiant stigma, a blue quality artifact. Oomph. The youth snatched the box with a sneer. At least you know what's good for you. It's lucky the starlight stigma can't be broken, or you'd be paying for it until you're broke. But judging by your mecha girl's performance, your driver must be a pauper who can't afford it anyway. With that, the youth strode off with his mecha girl, not pushing further. Su Chen frowned, pushed through the crowd, and quickly reached Xingming. What happened? Master. The moment she looked up and saw Su Chen, her aggrieved expression blossomed into a radiant smile. Her cat ears perked up excitedly, and her tail wagged joyfully. She then handed the racing suit she had been clutching tightly to Su Chen, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Master, I waited by the statue for so long I couldn't hold out anymore, so I came to find you. Look, this is the racing suit I specially picked for you. Isn't it nice? It's even the same style and color as my car suit. Her voice carried a playful, coaxing tone like a cat seeking praise. So you went to buy me a racing suit. Su Chen paused, having thought she was picking out a car suit for herself. The racing suit was exquisite, the fabric worlds apart from his riding gear, clearly not cheap. It had likely cost her entire 5,000 yuan. I really like the racing suit. Thank you. A soft warmth touched Su Chen's heart as he smiled and gently ruffled Xingming's head. I'm glad Master likes it. Xingming squinted her eyes and nuzzled happily against his hand. Rather than buying a pretty car suit, she preferred seeing Su Chen in better, more comfortable racing gear and hearing more of his praise. After waiting so long by the statue without seeing Su Chen, she had nearly feared he had abandoned her. In a panic, she had searched through the crowd, accidentally causing trouble. What really happened? Su Chen asked again. Meow, it's nothing. Xingming shook her head, embarrassed. It was my fault. There were too many people, I'm a bit short, and I was in a hurry to find Master, so I accidentally bumped into someone and knocked over the stigma they just bought. But she wasn't telling the truth. She had seen Su Chen through the glass as she reached the shop. Seeing he was busy, she had obediently waited outside. It was the youth and his mecha girl who had bumped into her while not watching their step, then blamed her. But they could afford expensive stigmas and wore racing suits with obvious club logos. Clearly not people to provoke. She didn't want to cause Su Chen any trouble. A little grievance was nothing compared to what she had endured by Wang Tingting. All she needed was to protect the happiness she now had. Is that so? All right then. Not knowing the full story, Su Chen took her word and dismissed the pair. The Star God Hual store was packed and minor collisions were inevitable. Besides, he had his own way of comforting Xingming. You gave me a gift, so let me give you one too. Su Chen smiled mysteriously, hands behind his back. Meow. I can have a gift too. Xingming's eyes lit up, her tail wagging furiously. Is it something Master specially bought for me? Exactly. Seeing her eager like a little glutton, Su Chen took out the purple stigma and handed it to her. The moment the purple light burst forth, another wave of exclamations rose from the crowd at the shop entrance. Wow. A purple stigma. That mecha girl is so lucky. Master, look at her driver. Is this the guy who just won the gacha jackpot? What incredible luck. Xingming froze. Her sapphire eyes widened, her mouth slightly agape, staring dumbfounded at the stigma radiating purple light. This is for me. Her voice trembled as if she couldn't believe it. A purple stigma. She had no idea of its value. But even the blue stigma earlier had been treasured by that youth. He had winced when it fell and examined it repeatedly. A purple stigma was far superior to blue. Its worth was unimaginable. Back when she was with Wang Tingting, she had never even dared to hope for a white quality modification core, let alone a purple one. And now, of course it's for you. Su Chen smiled warmly. Do you like it, eh? I do. Xingming's eyes reddened, instantly tears welling up. But it's too precious. I can't accept it. She wanted to refuse, but couldn't bear to her hand hesitating in the air. Don't want it. Then I'll have brother Su Chen sell it to me. He. Yu Ming wrapped his arm around Zuijing's waist, swaying in front of Xingming with a villainous grin. No. Xingming clutched Su Chen's arm, glaring at Yu Ming. Go away. This is for my master. Didn't you say you didn't want it? Yu Ming raised his nostrils at her. Xingming bit her lip, looking at Su Chen for final confirmation. Can I really have it? Silly girl. Su Chen gently stroked her cat ears. Take it. Meow. Xingming finally couldn't hold back and buried herself in Su Chen's arms, sobbing softly. Thank you, master. Xingming is so happy. This was the first time she had received such a precious gift. The first time she had been treasured like this. TCH, it's just a purple stigma. What's there to boast about? Yu Ming pouted, his words dripping with envy. He glanced at Su Chen. Hey, you're entering the Binzhou City Championship, right? Su Chen nodded. Of course. Yu Ming grinned, winking. Then it'll be fun. That brat your mecha girl bumped into. His mecha girl is called Fenghe, a key trainee of T3 in the Starlight Club of Binzhou. He's also entering the championship and is a top contender on the official site. Su Chen squinted toward where the youth and his mecha girl had gone. In the vast crowd, he could barely make out two heads. From this distance, he couldn't see Fenghe's stats. Still, as a professional club racer, he must have some skill. So young. A genius, or just a show? The youth looked far too young, almost a minor, though his tongue was sharp. Muttering to yourself? Scared? Humph. Su Chen snorted, rolling his eyes at Yu Ming. Am not afraid of a smurf, so why would I fear a little brat? Yu Ming, you bastard. Come on, Xingming, let's go home. Su Chen took Xingming's hand and walked away, leaving Yu Ming fuming in place. Hey, show off. Yu Ming took 2 deep breaths, watching Su Chen and Xingming's retreating figures, a strange smile creeping onto his face. There was one thing he hadn't told Su Chen. He and Zhuijing would also be in the Binzhou City Championship. Their aim to smash the fish, the training ground of Star Crown Club. With a low roar, the light blue supercar mecha girl adorned with flowing cloud patterns executed a silky drift before coming to a steady halt on the receiving platform, the tires screeching sharply against the ground. The door lifted upward like an eagle's wing, and a youth with a delicate face and a hint of arrogance in his brows leaped out from the driver's seat. Though he appeared young, his eyes gleamed with a sharpness surpassing that of his peers. Feng He, you performed well today. Your speed has indeed improved significantly. The youth nodded in satisfaction, patting the top of the car with his hand. Feng He shifted from her supercar form to her mecha girl form, standing beside the youth. She wore a light blue racing suit matching the car's color with delicate features and a faint, gentle smile on her lips. After all, it was the blue St. Mark Wolf driver that Master bought. Feng He said softly, her tone filled with gratitude. Without this St. Mark, no amount of training could have improved so much in such a short time. Oh. The youth nodded slightly, his fist unconsciously clenching. At this city championship, we must seize the victory. His name was Su Chen, the chief seed player of Star Crown Club's T3 level. Just turned 18, but he looked younger and to appear somewhat more imposing. He had to practice an arrogant gaze in the mirror every day and cultivate a sharp tongue that would never let him lose face, even if it made him a bit insufferable. Speaking of which, I crashed into that mecha girl today, and then I even bit back. Damn it. Su Chen slapped himself in frustration. I've been training too much, gotten too deep into character. In situations like this, I automatically slip into arrogant mode, huh? Feng He covered her mouth with a chuckle. Once Master grows up a bit more, you'll have more presence. Are you calling me small? Su Chi's mouth twitched as he glared fiercely at Feng He. Not at all. Feng He looked up at the sky. Then what do you mean by holding up your thumb and index finger? Ahem, young master, the match intelligence from yesterday is ready for you. A white-bearded old man in butler attire appeared like a ghost behind the two. The anger on Su Chi's face vanished instantly. He habitually shoved his hands into his pockets, lifted his chin, and said coldly, any opponents worth noting? There is. The butler bowed. Then withdraw. Yes, young master. As usual, no valuable opponents had appeared. Wait. Come back. Su Chen quickly called out. The old butler turned around again, beaming. What is it, young master? Didn't you just say there was a... Yes. Then why didn't you give me his file? You ordered me to withdraw. Su Chi's vision darkened, and he fumed. Then if I told you to eat shit, would you eat it? The old butler hesitated for a moment, as if seriously pondering the feasibility of the matter, then a flush crept onto his face. If it is the young master's command, I suppose I could. Su Chen. After receiving the file, he wearily dismissed the butler to his own devices. He then began reading the intelligence. Binzhou City Underground Race difficulty 2.5 stars, time July 7th. 9 p.m. rankings: champion Yu Ming Shadow Chaser, average speed 200 km, runner-up Su Zilong Swift speed, average speed 171 km, third place Su Chen Star Dream, average speed 170 km. Head that Yu Ming, damn sandbagger. Su Chen shook his head with a cold laugh. A professional driver from the Northern Wolf team sandbagging in a small-time race like this. Even if he held back, wasn't it shameful? He would never do such a thing anyway. The champion and runner-up were drivers he knew well. Su Zilong and Swift Speed were famous wild drivers in Binzhou City, and they had already registered for the city championship. But this third-place pair, were they newcomers? He had never heard of them. An average speed of 170 km/h was already enough to qualify for club reserve training. Could it be that the butler thought Su Chen and Star Dream were the ones worth noting? But with a 170 km/h result, there was no suspense in the city championship. They definitely wouldn't rank. Still, he didn't question the butler's advice, because old Master Li was not only his butler, but also his track analyst. There had to be another reason. He continued reading the next page of the analysis report. His expression was normal at first, even calmly taking a sip of coffee to steady himself. After all, a Class C driver's license was nothing. He had gotten one on his first try. But then, in the next second, his eyes suddenly widened, and he spat out his coffee, reading the analysis report word by word. After analysis, Su Chen's mecha girl driving technique is highly likely superior to Yu Ming's. Based on the match footage of his mecha girl Star Dream against Shadow Chaser, his driving skill can be rated around A to S level. Impossible. Su Chen slammed the analysis report onto the table. He suddenly turned to Feng He and said, he slapped me. Feng He didn't hesitate. She raised her hand and delivered a slap, though she held back her strength, making it feel like a caress. The sound was loud, though. Su Chen covered his face, utterly defeated, and wailed, can you believe it? This is a rookie driver with no race record, and the old man rates him as S-level driving skill. How did he start training in the womb? Master, calm down. Phone, he patted Su Chen on the shoulder. Right, calm down. I'm going to be a world. Su Chen took a deep breath and continued reading the file. He soon found that although the butler had a high opinion of Su Chen, his assessment of Su Chen's mecha girl was quite average. Indeed, a class car. Even if it was modified to class after the race, it would likely be at the bottom of the class cars. Su Chen breathed a sigh of relief. If Su Chen had a mecha girl on par with Feng, he would have been helpless. Luckily, it's no longer the last century when skill alone dominated the track. He put the file down, a smirk of arrogance unconsciously curling at the corner of his mouth. Mecha girls have their limits. No matter how skilled the driver, they cannot surpass the inherent attributes of a mecha girl. Su Chen's driving was strong, but that alone wouldn't make him a stumbling block on Su Chi's path to winning the Binzhou City Championship. Perhaps I could recruit Su Chen to my team. Su Chen pondered, stroking his chin. As the chief of StarCrown T3, he would eventually have to form his own team. Without a team relying solely on himself, he could never defeat that man. The man who from birth had loomed over him like a dark cloud. Northern Wolf Club. Outside the office window, the riverside nightscape of K City glittered with lights. The interior was minimalist yet technologically advanced. One wall was adorned with various race trophies and photos chronicling the club's glorious history. The other featured a massive screen broadcasting race footage in real time. The air was tinged with a faint aroma of coffee, and several computers were running complex data analysis software. Behind a desk piled high with files and clutter, a figure could be faintly seen. Boss, oh my, guess what? Shadow Chaser and I found a very interesting rookie driver in Binzhou City. Yuming burst in with Shadow Chaser, his usual aloofness gone, replaced by exuberance. Huh. The woman behind the pile of clutter looked up, her light golden hair sliding past her cheeks, revealing a pair of phoenix eyes with dark circles. Interesting. Do tell. Boss, have you been up all night again? After the city championship, it's the 100 Cities King of Drivers tournament. You can't keep staying up like this. Enough. The woman picked up a cigarette from the table and took a deep drag, saying lazily, even if I don't stay up, I look like this. Didn't you say you met an interesting driver? What's the story? Su Chen, a rookie driver with no race record. Yuming said this himself almost incredulously. I feel his racing technique might even surpass mine. Oh, and then Li Yini calmly took a sip of her coffee. And then oi. Yuming's eyes widened. Isn't that shocking enough? Not bad. Li Yini nodded, then shook her head. But mainly your skill is just average. Yuming rolled his eyes in frustration. He was silent for a moment before speaking with a bitter smile. Boss, I think this is a hope for us. That bastardly Pingji got poached by T2, and we're just one person short. If we don't get a satisfactory result in this provincial tournament, we'll have to face the club's dissolution agreement. Su Chen, though just a rookie driver, I felt an extraordinary aura from him. The key is... Yuming paused. The key is he's incredibly lucky. Alright, I get it. Li Yini waved her hand dismissively. Let's wait until after the city championship to talk. Otherwise, no matter how good we think he is, the manager won't give him a second glance, unless he achieves something impressive at the city championship. Will he participate? Yes. Yuming nodded. I confirmed with him. He said he will definitely join. Li Yini spread her hands. Then we'll talk after the city championship. Yuming's face lit up with joy. Then he'll take that as your preliminary approval for Su Chen to join the team. Shadow Chaser, let's go train. The office door slammed shut. Li Yini turned to look out the window, slowly massaging her temples. The office fell back into silence, leaving only the sound of her smoking alone. Hope, huh? A soft sigh dissipated into the air.